should know. I have never really liked you at all. Listen up, I gotta tell you, there is something you should know. I have never really liked you at all. I cannot hide it anymore. I've been thinking about the future, trying to forget about the past. So many ways that I could change for the better. Don't even know where to begin. If I allow myself to dream, will it be as good as it seems? Pull me out of this place in the middle, in the middle. Nothing more to embrace in the middle, in the middle. If I try to climb up the wall, everyone can see when I Take me up into the mountains, send me off into the wild. Misery is still a path I would choose if the alternatives are worse. I guess it's time to find a friend, one who will stick by to the end. Going out of my mind in the middle, in the middle. Wasting all of my time in the middle, in the middle. I take a bite and spit it out, unaware of what it's about. I'm not that good at faking it. I feel somehow I've broken it. I don't believe I'm part of it. In the middle. If I try to climb up the wall, everyone can see when I fall. Nothing really matters at all. Pull me out of this place in the middle, in the middle. Nothing more to embrace in the middle, in the middle.
This is a true crime discussions channel. We speculate. This is all just speculation. Because it's true crime, it's for mature audiences only. There will be no children allowed, no exceptions. Everything on this channel falls under fair use. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's free.
Oh my gosh, I just burnt the crap out of myself. I was on the phone with my mom. My mom called and to tell me happy birthday. Hold on, let me shut the door. My mom called to tell me happy birthday, and when I looked at the phone to answer it, I saw it was 10:34, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm supposed to be live." For some reason, I had set my alarm for 10:50, thinking that it was at 11. I don't know where my head was at, and then I wasn't even going to say anything about it being my birthday because I try not to put out, I don't want anybody thinking about me when we're talking about all these cases and things, but I wanted to explain why I was late. And then I was just trying to hurry up and get in here, and I'm making oatmeal and it boiled over on the stove, and I grabbed the pot and burnt the crap out of my thumb. It's just crazy. I apologize for being late, y'all. Goodness gracious. Okay. So I don't know if y'all saw, but I found last night an interview with Chris Stearns, which is Stephen Stearns' dad, and it was like a bombshell to say the least. I didn't even realize I had it, and it was from July 16th, I do believe, and he talks about so many things. He says that he thinks that Stephen and Jim were running a criminal enterprise. He talks about photos. He asked if other people that were in the photos are going to be charged. Like, it's crazy. Um, I do want to say good morning. I see that Anders and Jenny Jen are in here, and I appreciate the birthday wishes. Thank you guys. That's really sweet. I want to say hi to everybody else that's here or watching the replay. I greatly appreciate you being here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a video that I have because I started a playlist yesterday going over the P.Diddy things. So I'm going to try to pull one up that maybe will catch us up to speed. I don't know if I have anything about the old things that happened. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to get something to put on my finger because it is like throbbing right now. And I am going to work on getting my coffee so I can pull up the 14-page indictment and read that to you guys because I have a lot of information on that. I had read it at another live, but I had to end up deleting that live. Yeah, Anders, it is tragic with all the missing children. I've got to make a new one. That one was from September 22nd, but it's very sad. I try to get their pictures out here because I feel like it's important to put their photos out here so that if somebody sees them or something, they can make that call. Anders said he wants Jen to be part of a pedophile ring. We have to question if she was. Because again, he talks about all the money and all the things. Like, he seems to know some things, and he seems to think, and you got to think he knows Jennifer. Like, Jennifer's been with his son for 7 years. And if you think about it, like, when you get in an argument with your significant other, if you're close to your parents, who are you going to call to vent to? A lot of times it's your parents. So if that was the case with Stefan, and he's been calling and venting about Jennifer, and then, however many times she's visited and all that, he knows her better than we do, of course. So he would know more about it. And who she is as a person. And if he thinks she was involved, I believe she was involved too, which, it's not hard to fathom that she was involved because of all the information that we have. Okay. Oh, okay. This one, I'm going to go ahead and pull this one up. So, hold on. Actually, let me, I know it's not on the screen yet. I'm going to get it up there. So I'm going to start with this video. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So I'm going to get this pulled up. I do want to give a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about sensitive subjects. I need to start doing that with every video. I'll get my banner going. And again, I want to add that this is sensitive. This is a sensitive topic. It has to do with domestic violence, the video I'm about to show you. So if that is if that is going to trigger you, please feel free to step out. So let's watch this, and then I'll give you guys the update.
Disturbing new video appears to support some of the accusations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
We want to warn you that this video you're about to see is extremely graphic.
Oh, Jenny, not you, babe. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, Jennifer Soto. I'm so sorry, love. Yeah, no. We do think, I think everybody here in the speculating family thinks that Jennifer Soto knew more than what she admitted.
The surveillance footage that was captured inside of a Los Angeles hotel in 2016 allegedly shows Combs assaulting then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hallway. A now settled lawsuit filed.
Football kick. Like, she's not even moving. She's experienced this so much that she knows to lay down and just not even move. I mean, he straight football kicked her right in between the legs. I'm going to rewind it. Like, look where he kicks her. Again,
hallway. A now settled lawsuit filed by Ventura claimed that she was trying to leave the hotel after a drunken Combs punched her. The video appears to show Combs chasing her down the hall, throwing her to the ground, and then repeatedly kicking her. So far, there's been no comment from Combs or his attorney.
She knows not to fight back at this point. Because, I mean, normally, you know, if that's the first thing that happened, the first time that happened, you're going to fight back. It's already gotten so bad and to the point that she knows to not even fight back. They were together for a long time.
I want to be a mother, and I want to be motherly.
So I know that was hard to watch and stressful, but I found this yesterday when I was looking for information about Diddy, and I found this wonderful update from Cassie. So we're going to watch this real quick because this is important. And I haven't watched it, but from reading the title, I was glad to see what it said and that she's doing good.
I want to be a mother, and I want to be motherly.
Let me say, I don't know what news channel that was, but please go like and subscribe to them. This appears to be Entertainment Tonight. I will link all of these in my description box. Look, there's my alarm. You hear my alarm? That's my alarm to start the live, y'all. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to link all of the videos that I use in the description box. I want to reiterate that this is fair use. I will make sure that I'm practicing fair use, and I will link all of these pages in the description box, and I will ask that you please go like, comment, and subscribe to their channels. So let's get this going.
It would be somebody that's good with kids, I guess. I grew up, it was just me and my brother. I think two is good.
Cassie Ventura is living her motherhood dream, married with 2 little ones.
They like to geek, drink a whole bottle, wake up and repeat. Damn.
But the singer's road to domestic bliss wasn't an easy one. Cassie was first romantically linked to Diddy in 2007. They later went public with their relationship in 2012, but split 6 years later. In November 2023, Cassie made headlines when she filed a lawsuit against the rapper, alleging Diddy had subjected her to years of abuse during their relationship. Diddy settled less than 24 hours after the filing, and months later, a disturbing security video surfaced showing Diddy assaulting Cassie in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel back in 2016. Diddy responding on Instagram.
Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day.
And Cassie sharing this message. Thank you.
I don't believe that was genuine at all. She is beautiful, Anders. She is absolutely gorgeous. I don't believe that apology that we just saw was genuine at all. I think it was just to help recover his public image. I don't think that he really meant that shit, not one bit.
Thank you to everyone that has taken this matter seriously. My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. This healing journey is never ending, but this support means everything to me.
At the end of the day, if you made the decisions you made them, and they don't define you.
Yeah, Cassie's journey has brought her to a happier place than ever, finding peace with her family. Cassie and her hubby, personal trainer Alex Fine, met in 2018 and went Instagram official that December.
As cheesy as it sounds, I really love a sense of humor. Somebody that can make me laugh all day beats out any look or anything. If we can laugh together, that's the best thing.
The following June, Cassie announced she was expecting her first child. 3 months later, the couple tied the knot, welcoming their eldest daughter, Frankie, in December 2019. Cassie became pregnant again a year later, and Sunny joined the family in March 2021.
You're copying me, aren't you?
Yeah. I think the little things count more than the big things sometimes, and I think that's important.
Fast forward to May 2024, and Alex wrote an open letter advocating for victims of domestic violence. I want my kids and every kid to live in a world that's safe for women and girls, protects them, and treats them as equals. Men who hit women aren't men. Men who enable it and protect these people aren't men.
There's always these ceilings that, women try to have to break through in order to be respected and, in a relationship sense and in a lot of different ways.
Cassie and Alex both continue to speak out against abuse as they live their happily ever after with their little ones.
These are the happiest babies. These are the happiest babies.
That's beautiful. That's so sweet. I'm really happy for her. So I feel like that was important. Something good to see that came out of all of this. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for a second. Okay, so I will read the indictment and then we will look at this. There's evidently 11 lawsuits. So hold on a minute. I'm trying to get it pulled up so that you guys can see. My computer's being slow. I'm going to have to get them. Okay, computer, why are you not pulling up my files? I'm going to go ahead and share this so that you guys can. There we go. All right, so we'll start with this. This was him in court. So you know how when they go in court, they have the person that draws the picture? That's what this is. Let me check my comments. Yes, Anders. So it was a happy ending for her, at least. Yes, it was. Yeah, and I'm glad that she's able to recover from all of this. So this is the courtroom art. It says Sean Diddy Combs pleaded not guilty in Manhattan federal court today to sex trafficking charges. Judge Robin Transworsky denied bail for Combs, so he will remain in jail until his trial. Prosecutors allege that the rapper used his business empire to transport women as well as male sex workers across state lines to take part in recorded sexual performances called, quote, freak-offs. And the sketch is by Jane Rosenberg. Give me just 1 second. Okie dokie. So, yeah, I think this is. I want to make sure. I want to start at the beginning. Yeah, this is the beginning. Okay, so this was September 17th. It says, Dear Judge Tramforsky, Mr. Sean Combs, through his counsel, submits this letter to the court for release on certain specified conditions. Yesterday evening, Mr. Combs was arrested on an indictment charging him with the following offenses, and it gives us the statutes. For the reasons set forth below, we ask the court to release Mr. Combs pursuant to our proposed bail package. This letter will walk the court through a series of actions taken by Mr. Combs over the past 6 months that will prove he is not a risk of flight or a danger to anyone in the community. These actions prove that Mr. Combs is eminently trustworthy, that he is demonstrably committed to showing his innocence in court in the context of this case, and that he should be released on the conditions proposed in order to do so. The first thing the court should know is that when it became apparent to his counsel that Mr. Combs would at some point soon be formally charged, he did something extraordinary. He left his home in Miami and traveled to New York, to the very location of the prosecutors and agents investigating him. Through counsel, Mr. Combs promptly told the government that he had voluntarily come to New York, offered to tell them specifically where he was, and offered to turn himself in at the appropriate time. Even though Mr. Combs came to New York, authorized his lawyers to tell the government of his locations, and offered to self-surrender, the government effected an arrest last evening. We know this is the government's right. However, that he traveled to New York to self-surrender is also something the court should consider. This was not the first action Mr. Combs took to show his trustworthiness and lack of flight risk. Indeed, it is part of a pattern ever since before the March 25th, 2024 searches on Mr. Combs' residences. Mr. Combs and his counsel had been fully aware that the United States Attorney from the Southern District of New York had been conducting an investigation involving allegations concerning racketeering and sex trafficking and other offenses. Knowing for these many months that he would be indicted, Mr. Combs has done everything, as will be set out below, to work with the prosecutors in ways that are unusual, if not unprecedented. So this tells us something that I gathered from reading this not too long ago, that when they raided his homes, he already knew they were coming. So what did he get rid of? What do we not get? What did he destroy before they arrived to do his house, to search his house? Like all the evidence. Think about all the evidence that he would have gotten rid of as soon as he got wind that they were going to be searching his house. And the fact that, everybody talks about that they brought his son out in handcuffs. I mean, if he knew they were coming, was that not for like the public to see? Oh, they're arresting my kids. Look at them bringing my kids out in handcuffs, and they didn't even have nothing to do with it. Like was that the perception he was going for by leaving them there, even though he knew they were coming? You know what I mean? So it says, I'm gonna clear my throat, and I don't want to blow y'all's eardrums. Hold on. Judy Jen says, Anders with love. Yes, a lot of people were coming out for being a gold digger when the lawsuit was filed. Once the video came out, people believed her. Yep. So the second part of this says, in light of these circumstances, he can rebut presumption of detention here due to his extraordinary actions in this investigation. Mr. Combs should be released on the condition proposed so that he can fight this case in court effectively. The proposed package. The defense proposes the following bail package: a $5 million bond, co-signed by Sean Combs, his mother, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. I have a question about that. I thought that was Kim Porter. Isn't Kim Porter deceased? I mean, obviously she is. So I thought Kim Porter was the mother of his oldest children. Part C says, secured by the equity in Mr. Combs' residence located at 2 West Star Island in Miami, Florida. The appraisal value of the home is about $48 million. The home is unencumbered. In anticipation of this bail hearing on August 20th, 2024, Mr. Combs paid off the remaining mortgage of about $18 million so that the home could be used to secure a bond and be free of mortgage. Secured by the equity of Mr. Combs' mother's home located at 450 Alton Road in Miami, Florida, Mr. Combs' travel will be restricted to the Southern District of Florida and the Southern District of New York to attend court, meet with his counsel, and attend medical appointments, which we will address to the court in a separate sealed submission, as well as the Eastern District of New York or the District of New Jersey, only to the extent that his travel to and from New York involves an airport in those districts. Mr. Combs' passport was surrendered to his counsel on April 1st, 2024. His counsel advised the prosecution of the fact in an email dated the same day. Counsel will provide the passport of pretrial services. The passports of the following family members who have already surrendered their passports to counsel after the raids of Mr. Combs' homes: Janice, Chance, Jesse, Delilah, and Love. It says the written appraisal is attached as Exhibit 1, the satisfaction of the mortgage is attached as Exhibit 2, and the letter to the prosecutors is attached as Exhibit 3. Yeah, there was horrible abuse in that video. Okay, now let me read the second part, or the last. Since at least April 2024, Mr. Combs has been making efforts to sell his airplane. We informed the government of these efforts in May 2024, as explained further below. Just this weekend, Mr. Combs entered into a letter of intent with a party to sell it. Mr. Combs understands that he is not to travel to Los Angeles, where the plane had been located this week, and further that the plane is not to be brought to any district in which he is located until it is sold. Home detention with GPS monitoring, and all other standard conditions of pretrial supervision. The history of this investigation shows a great degree of collaboration between the government, Mr. Combs, and his counsel, which should weigh heavily in this court, releasing him on the conditions proposed. On March 13, 2024, counsel for Mr. Combs emailed the assigned assistant United States attorneys. In this introductory mail, counsel notified himself as counsel for Mr. Combs and stated that he wished to speak with the prosecutors and share information about Mr. Combs and the matters under investigation. See Exhibit 4. After not hearing back from the DA's, counsel again emailed the prosecutors on March 18th, 2024. Counsel did not get a response to this second email either. On March 25th, search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' place of residence in Miami and Los Angeles. In addition, he was removed from his airplane and searched. The searches of the residences were usually public and particularly heavy-handed. The agents had assault rifles trained on the heads and chests of his children, who were then handcuffed and brought before the news cameras in a press helicopter. On the day of the searches, counsel called the prosecutors and they spoke for the first time. Counsel indicated that he would accept service of 2 grand jury subpoenas to Mr. Combs' businesses. Counsel took possession of Mr. Combs' passport on April 1st, 2024. About a week following the searches on April 1st, 2024, counsel took possession of Mr. Combs' U.S. passport. As noted the same day, the counsel advised that the United States attorneys of the fact that the counsel had Mr. Combs' passport and he would not return it to him, that he would not leave the country during the presidency of the investigation. See Exhibit 1. We have, in fact, maintained the passports, and Mr. Combs has not left the country despite knowing the investigation was ongoing and despite having a plane at his disposal, despite not being charged with any crime. So, with Kim Porter, okay, so Jenny says maybe he has more kids. With Kim Porter, it's Delilah, Christian, and Christopher, and I'm forgetting the other son. Right, okay, I remember now. Christian and Christopher, I remember those 2 names. Yeah, so maybe he's got more kids. I mean, I'm guessing that's what we're hearing here. All right, I'm going to step in with a video right now, and then I will start reading the indictment. So, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so we'll watch Rosie O'Donnell predict Diddy's prison sentence in a 2000 TLC interview. So this is Entertainment Tonight. Please like and subscribe to their channel. Go check them out. I will link them in the description box below. Oh my goodness, why are you going crazy? Hold on, y'all. My computer's going crazy. Hello, hello, hello. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh. Y'all let me know if I'm like cut. Let me know if I am cutting out.
Think about all that Diddy has done for the culture.
Okay, well, we can watch Nick Cannon comments resurface after the raid on Diddy's home, and then we'll watch what Rosie O'Donnell had to say, I suppose, since that's what my computer is demanding that we watch right now. Let's watch this.
Think about all that Diddy has done for the culture.
They asked me about Puff, and I answered it as honestly as I knew how to answer it. I know these people, they're not just public figures to me.
Nick Cannon's comments about Diddy resurfacing in the wake of the music mogul's federal home raids.
What about Puff? Like, I don't know how to feel about that.
Everybody has things that we have to deal with, and through love and understanding, we'll get through it.
The Masked Singer host getting through it on his Council Culture podcast in February, addressing what he said earlier in December on Way Up with Angela Yee.
Cassie, straight up.
In the aftermath of Diddy's sexual assault allegations from his ex, Cassie. Diddy denies the claims, but still, they ultimately settled. It's worth noting both appearances were recorded before Diddy's home raids.
I saw you leave like a, nice comment for Cassie.
Yeah.
With everything that's been happening with Diddy.
And there's a lot of things that we probably don't know the details on, but we all on the outside looking in.
I'm praying for Cassie, trying to find the high frequency in knowing the story, knowing.
A lot of, thank you, Jenny, for letting me know that it was a little glitchy while I was talking. I think they were still connected to the internet, even though I asked them to get off. So hopefully that will get better. I do apologize for that. Thank you so much for letting me know, Jenny. I know that Cat Williams and a few other people, give me just a second.
Knowing the right thing to talk about, I was like, this is someone who was hurt, who was victimized.
Nick making the comment while reflecting on his personal struggles in the public eye, including losing jobs over what many believe to be anti-Semitic remarks, for which he's since apologized.
When I was going through my stuff, someone that called, checked on me, stood by me, stood up for me. When no one else would protect me.
We just like the audience, we sitting back, praying and hoping for the best. But then at the same time, when you know individuals, it's like,
my husband opened the door, so I was like, it threw my train of thought off. I have ADHD. But what I was saying was, Cat Williams and a bunch of people came out to discuss Diddy and all of the things going on. I had to pull up where he talks about Diddy next, and Method Man talks about him. And I don't know if you've seen 50 Cent, but he said quite a few things about Diddy. He made me laugh when he was saying that Diddy wanted to take him shopping, and 50 was like, what the fuck did he just say to me? Because I think that's the normal response. Like, usually you take a girl shopping, not a grown-ass man. But we'll go ahead and finish this.
It's like a family member. I don't agree with the behavior, but I care for the person.
So I have to almost do this dance about when it comes up, because just as much as I know Diddy, I know Cassie.
In November, Cassie's lawsuit allegations were only the start of legal troubles for Diddy.
As we watch it, we're watching it in real time, and we don't know how to feel because, one, we don't know the truth. We don't know everything. When it's revealed, it'll be revealed. And then when we are presented whatever the actual truth is, it's like, all right, well, how do we feel about what we've signed on for to be a part of that person's movement?
Of course, Nick's interview last year was before Diddy's 2024 headlines. Homeland Security raiding his LA and Miami mansions amid sex trafficking allegations. For now, Nick's only response has been sharing this unaired snippet from a February podcast episode. Nick asking fans in the caption what he's really yet to answer himself. What do you think about Diddy?
I find difficulty in it when I'm asked about people that I know about. But that goes back to what this is all about, healing in the public eye. As our brotherhood, it shouldn't be in the public.
All right.
This is the
I just
vampire
pulled
Louis.
up the what Cat Williams said about Diddy. We'll watch the
Think about all that.
Rosie O'Donnell, what she said.
A lot of multiple nominees, multiple.
We'll watch this and then we'll see what Cat Williams was trying to tell us back then at the beginning of the year. You know, I keep going back to Cat Williams because he knew a lot and he called this shit out. He told us that this was going to be the year of revelations, and it has been. Thank you again for everybody who's here. And I agree with you, Florentina. I want Diddy gone too. Diddy gone, Diddy gone. Let's get rid of the diddler.
A lot of multiple nominees, multiple Grammy nominees this year. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10. And he can really sing. Oops!
Okay, y'all, I don't know if y'all understand that, but she was saying 5 to 10 as in 5 to 10 years, and then she said he can really sing. Sing is a prison. Now, keep in mind, this was in the year 2000.
Rosie O'Donnell's joke about Diddy nearly 25 years ago hitting a little different in 2024.
You're going to hear about my party. They're going to be shutting them down. They're going to probably be arresting me.
Yeah, the viral resurfaced moments just keep coming in the wake of Diddy's racketeering and sex trafficking indictments.
It's ridiculous. It seems like there's something new every day. You know, as I said before, I'm innocent.
That's the rapper and then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez at the 2000 Grammy Awards. Diddy reacting at the time to his arrest stemming from his infamous nightclub shooting.
Want to hear my joke I have? Ready? This is good. See if you like it.
Before Diddy was cleared of those charges, the comedian quipped about his legal troubles with TLC on her 90s talk show.
A lot of multiple nominees, multiple Grammy nominees this year. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10.
5 to 10 years.
Get it? Like he's going to jail? Right. All right.
As for Diddy's ex, J-Lo, fans also dug up her 2015 appearance on The Wendy Williams Show. Her mom, Guadalupe, reacting to a rekindled romance.
I could always see you getting back with Puffy in a little way.
I mean, he's a nice guy and he can really sing. Oops!
Oh my gosh.
A lot of multiple nominees, multiple Grammy nominees this year. Nice. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10. And he can really sing. Oops!
Okay, so I did find while we were watching that what Cat Williams said and some of the other. Let me refresh it so it'll pull it up. I don't know if it's StreamYard, like I've got full service and I made sure that they weren't on the internet. So we'll watch what Cat Williams said real quick and 50 Cent was saying some stuff too. So this is going to be Cat Williams. This was the interview.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching.
This is the interview that I was talking about that happened at the beginning of the year. And Cat Williams called this out. Like he told us at the beginning of the year that it was going to go down this year, and I'll be damned if it ain't. Anders said, I've got the impression that some rap artists feel they need to behave as pimps. That could be said. Some of them do. Some of them act very respectable. I think it depends on the personality of the person and how they are. Like, for instance, Cat Williams, which he's not a rap star. He handles himself very well in public. He's very well spoken. You know, it all just depends on the person and if they are more in it for the green light, like the green light, I think that's what it's called, or the limelight, the limelight, or if they take it more seriously as a career, something to do for the rest of their life, you know.
Hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them.
This is from Club Shay. They're awesome. I like them. Please give them a like and subscribe.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
I need to have another one of these.
Amen, amen.
Gee. I kind of getting on here.
Right.
After that, I don't really kind of know where to go. Let me one more time.
Right.
We good now?
Because the people want to know, why would he get blackballed?
Yeah,
because in 30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
you will tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that. I value that. I'll pay for that. Come, tell me. I know so many things I shouldn't know, and they all know it. They all know it. Why? Because you don't make me the villain. Not the guy that raises black children and ain't never done a hard drug in his life and don't have no stories of doing nobody dirty.
And if you look in the press, they did go after Cat Williams. They took his kids and everything. I'll play a little bit more of this and then ask that you go watch it.
Yeah. And they'll just go out and they'll lie. The industry doesn't mess with Cat because he didn't show up for the studio. No studios have ever said that. Look at my IMDb. It will show you that no studio has ever lost money with me on the script. How?
I think he does talk about Diddy more in a minute, so we'll listen to all of it.
How? That's why I'm saying, that's why I can't let Ricky Smiley say he was supposed to play Money Mike, because I wrote the words for Money Mike. I designed the hair for Money Mike. I collaborated with the wardrobe department and made outfits to make sure that no one in America would be wearing what Money Mike was wearing. I told them to go get the Prowler. I then told them to paint it purple. I told them don't have an actor at playing a pimp. We could get an actual pimp, Archbishop Magic Don Juan, to play. Like, I did far too much work for somebody to come years later and try to tag along just for their own self-aggrandizement.
Why didn't Cube set the record straight? Terry Crews could have set the record straight. Mike Epps could have set the record straight. Why none of them set the record straight?
That's what you were supposed to ask him when he told you those lies that
but
no
I didn't
one's
know it
ever
was a
heard.
lie.
Right, but he's telling you something no one's ever heard of. Nobody has ever heard, oh, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon was in a movie, and somebody said, y'all should switch roles. And, like, this is a business.
But that's the thing, Kat. Normally when people are giving you information, I'm thinking I'm hearing it for the first time, and they're giving information no one else knows or has ever heard. So I'm taking them at face value.
These are like, this is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was to store at all, Tiffany was only seen at the Laugh Factory. In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show. There being a line for I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you. Like, it's important in the checks and balances in 5 years. If what I say ain't the case. It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with, and they don't with who they don't. But I'm not scared of being the competition any more than you were when you lined up across from a superior team. Yeah, on paper, they're a better team.
Right.
They have all the assets and resources, and we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't.
Wow.
Because Shannon Sharp got to be a different person than that other person.
Absolutely.
And he always was. That doesn't change when I change teams. That remains the same. That's how a legacy is built. So all of these shortcut takers, they canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my penis in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do? He did all of that. I'm thinking I'm the only black person on the script. I get there, it's 3 other black guys on there. Woo. Huh.
So you wonder what they did to get there.
I told him no. What y'all do? And this is why.
Yeah, when this first came out, I watched it like 3 times. I died when he said that.
When I walk in a room, heads go down. Behind my back, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian that's bitter and jealous. But in my face, no, no, no. The king has walked in and they have to respect it only because I've not taken the shortcuts. I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves. I can't do that because Steve told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he has 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Cat Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Cat Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in, and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars. What? You called Ocean 11 to get that nigga's part. What do you mean you didn't want to be a movie star? So on the behalf of Bernie, I would have to say what I have to say.
Have you ever been on tour with any of these guys?
Bernie Mac was awesome. My kids love to watch the Bernie Mac show. Like, we watch it. That little girl says some milk and cookies. That show's awesome. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I'm going to just skip through and make sure there's nothing else about Diddy, and we'll move on because we got so much about Diddy.
Every guy I mentioned to you is not funny out there. Old black woman forever. Like, you can't get a young fan base with that. You don't get to bring that body in here talking crazy.
Talk about how good you look.
What? No, there's too many comics out there that are putting their life on the line to tell these jokes, man.
Okay. Let's get to you talk about Cedric.
Joke stealer from Cedric.
Cedric.
Okay, he thought that I was just a no-name comedian. Mark Curry had already helped me joke. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship.
I don't think that anything else is said about Diddy in this one. I do have some more where they talk about Diddy real quick. So this is 50 Cent trolling. Oh, we'll watch this real quick and then we'll watch 50 Cent troll him because 50 Cent loves to troll Diddy.
All right, so listen up. State Farm was trying to...
Okay, I don't really give a crap, but thank you. This is from Pepper. Please give them a like and subscribe. Hold on a minute.
Puff gay. Is that now, Fifth, when you continuously call Puff gay, is that a relationships in Hollywood?
I don't call him gay. I said,
let me read it. Let me read it, Fifth.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I can no longer help you guys. Soon you will all be gay and happy. You are all now left under leadership of Puffy Daddy. Report to the nearest rainbow. Dinner thieves in theaters January.
His posts might be deleted now, but we all know that 50 Cent is not holding back when it comes to throwing shade at Sean Diddy Combs. 50 Cent, who has been at odds with Diddy for decades, is now preparing his documentary production company to take on the troubled bad boy mogul by revealing Diddy's sexual history with all of the rappers he has worked with.
We used to wake up and, pause, but like just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the frosted flake.
Not coming slow, 50 is set to burn all the bridges this time. Take a look. The long-running conflict between 50 Cent and Diddy appears to be intensifying as rumors of him working on a documentary exploring the founder of Bad Boy Records' legal issues are starting to surface. But before everything, here's 50 casually throwing shade at P. Diddy.
P. Diddy allegedly assaulted his son's football coach with kettlebells. And I guess you guys are friends, but you immediately went on Instagram with this.
That's fucked up. I didn't see that.
Yeah. It was really funny. Did he find that amusing?
He probably didn't. You know, like when I first heard it, it just was funny to me because, like, no matter what you do, you get these different status. Like, you'd be like writer, producer, a mogul.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get in trouble, they go rapper.
Ah.
You go right back to rapper.
Right back to rapper.
And then I saw that happen to him, and I was like laughing. I poked fun at it because, you know, it didn't seem like a real serious situation. And then when it kind of, you know, it starts bad. No matter what it is, it starts bad in the news, and then it kind of makes its way over to something positive.
Yeah.
And no one reports it when it starts to become positive.
Right.
And that as it started to, you know, work its way out, I felt better about me poking fun at it.
Many internet users support the notion, especially considering 50 Cent's tendency to stir things up and the public scrutiny Diddy is facing due to numerous sexual assault claims. Although Diddy continues to insist on his innocence, 50 Cent is determined to use his investigation abilities to find proof to back up the claims made in court filings. The G-Unit rapper responded quickly to the news that Diddy had settled his lawsuit with Cassie, who had accused him of rape, sex trafficking, and abuse, in a since-deleted Instagram post. 50 wrote, "He paid that money real quick," and then took back his statement. Many found this decision puzzling, especially in light of his previous social media taunts directed against Diddy. For those of you who are not sure, Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, sued Diddy in the Southern District of New York U.S. District Court, citing years of alleged abuse at his hands. She alleged that in addition to giving her drugs, Diddy made her carry his gun, maintained a fast-paced, drug-fueled lifestyle, and physically abused her several times, some of which his staff also saw. So, recently, Ventura decided to speak up because she wanted to share her story and support other women in similar circumstances. In her statements, Ventura persisted, originally demanding $30 million from Diddy, under fear of publishing a negative book about their relationship, a move that Diddy's camp saw as clear blackmail, despite Diddy's lawyers adamantly disputing the charges. And, although the lawsuit was later dropped, Ventura decided to go ahead and file a lawsuit, which led to a settlement that is still unknown to this day between the two parties. Then again, not only 50, but Jaguar has also been warning us for a while now that Diddy's reputation in the industry isn't exactly flawless, particularly in light of Sean Diddy Combs' attempts to coerce young girls into performing questionable things for Hollywood heavyweights.
But people don't know the reality of Total. And the reality of Total is that Kima Dyson started that group. Puffy got into the mix later. Her mom was like,
Jaguar Wright knows a lot. Like, she gives out a lot of information. After we watch this video, I'll go ahead and read through the indictment, and then we'll continue on watching some more videos.
their manager. Her sister Vita survived. Her sister Vita was with Irv Gotti before Ashanti got there. Like, these were girls who were making their bones in the game. They were making deals. They were getting deals. Like, and they did this before Puffy came. Their name was breaking before Puffy got involved. Then Puffy got involved, and then the next thing you know, Missy gets involved. And when Missy got involved, everything changed. But what I hated more than anything was how Kima Dyson kind of got ostracized from the entity that she was damn near responsible for creating because she wasn't, because she was straight, because she had a husband, because she had children, because they had a family, because they had a business. And then the next thing you know, here come Puffy, Diddy, dirty money.
Yeah,
real fast.
They did nothing either.
I mean,
Then it became nothing. Like, his groups do nothing. Like, they start off good, but I believe it's him. He's the number one denominator. You know what I mean?
Hey, Clive Davis's artists kind of experienced the same thing as Angie Stone.
Not to mention Cassie Ventura's lawsuit against Diddy, it seems like Jaguar's comments are starting to make more sense than not. You know, throughout the discussion, she leveled some very serious accusations, one of which being that Diddy is engaged in open sex trafficking and is essentially a puppet of the Hollywood elite.
How do you feel about him making her search for prostitutes who were dark-skinned with big black faces? That's literally what he made her search for.
I mean, that's what he into.
What do you think Diddy and Farnsworth Bentley's real relationship was?
Concubine, master.
She also brought up how he utilizes his fame to intimidate and assault young artists, even naming a few of his victims. According to her, he uses his power in Hollywood to take advantage of and exploit these artists.
When I started addressing my issues about what happened to Malik B and what happened to Flo Brown, I just started looking, as I've gotten older, like I dissect life a little differently now. I'm always looking for the origin of a problem. I'm not looking to deal with the fallout that is presently here now. If I want to get rid of it, I got to go to the origin. I got to figure out where it comes from, and I got to dig those roots up, and I got to make sure it can't continue to grow.
What made you tell about P. Diddy and Christopher Williams?
Because they had it coming. They had it coming. I had no intention of ever telling that story. Matter of fact, I wasn't going to tell the story, but they kept posting nasty things about my kids on Instagram.
Yet, Wright recently said in an interview that Diddy isn't the stand-up man he portrays himself as online. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes, and it's not pretty, especially at the supposed parties that he throws.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anybody before on camera.
Well, let me straighten the wig.
All right, there's a Hollywood party. I'm not going to say any of the names, though. I'm just if Spirit give it to you, I will not deny what you say. Okay, it was a certain urban artist, but he wasn't black. Had a big record that just broke. He was married to an actress at the time.
So it was Robin Thicke.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was at his dad's house, which I guess is his house now, in Sunset Hills. I went with an old associate of mine. His name is Jimmy, and he was the vice president of Andre Harrell's label, New America.
You talking about Jimmy?
No, Jimmy's back.
Oh, give it to
now. But he was the vice president of New America, which was the label that Robin Thicke was on at the time. So me and Jimmy get to the party. It was very interesting. There was a certain supermodel that showed up at the party and was thrown out of the party.
I don't know if you've ever watched Jaguar, right? But she does the I forget the name of it, but it's like the Blue Couch interviews. You have to watch some of her interviews like that she's done over the years. She knows so much. She talks so much about the industry.
For some very, very, very vulgar conversation, very loudly about people. There were video girls there that were dancing. Michael Rappaport was there that night.
Who?
Michael Rappaport. The one who's beefing with KD, with Kevin Durant.
Is he an athlete as well?
No, Michael Rappaport, the actor. He played Remy in Higher Learning.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he was there at the party. And there was a guy that was a comedian. He used to be on MTV. He just kind of disappeared. He was there. And a few other people were there. Andre Harrell was there. And it was a very interesting night. There was.
Anders, I don't know a lot of these people either. I'm definitely more of an Alice in Chains kind of person, but there some of the names I know, some of them I don't. But if you listen to the story, you can still like kind of gather what she's saying.
Was a lot of party favors, and
when you say party favors, we mean
party favors, and of course there was alcohol. And so the video dancers were dancing, and then the girls got upset because they weren't getting any attention because they couldn't dance like the dancers could because they were all women of color. So then they decided to do a whole love scene on the pool table in the living room by the fireplace.
Of course they did.
You know, but there were a few inappropriate things that happened, but this particular supermodel, she did spread eagle, and she didn't have any her whole, life force, and told everybody inside out or something like that. Hollywood house parties are like that, or you'll go and just out of nowhere, things will just turn left.
But it seems like as you said, it seems like this is like the norm.
It's very normal. It is very normal.
In particular, Jaguar made some
That is
unsettling
insane.
revelations,
That is
one of
insane.
which was Diddy's associations with shady people. That makes sense, of course, considering Diddy's track record for having some powerful but sketchy connections in the industry. In fact, that's precisely why he hasn't been arrested and charged with the charges made against him after all this time. Meanwhile, some who know the rapper well have disclosed how Diddy exploits young musicians in the inner circles. As the owner of Bad Boy Entertainment, for example, he is occasionally accused of sexually abusing his position of authority and influence. T.D. Jackson, his top aide, is alleged to have attended nearly all of these predatory parties.
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church.
So this guy was like his bodyguard for a long time, and this guy knows a lot. You should listen to some of his interviews. He tells it all.
The sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. But maybe he there to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he there to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party.
So he's talking about I don't know his name, but there is the leader of like a really well-known church, and he's the preacher, and he's been found at these Diddy parties a lot, like the preacher of the church, and engaging in all these parties and things. And let me just state that I have nothing against anybody's sexual preferences or anything like that. I don't want it to seem like that. We're just talking about these parties and the kind of debauchery that would go on. We're not focusing on the fact that men were on men or women were on women. That's your sexual preference, more power to you. What we're focusing on is all of the other things that were going, like, the fact that it was unprotected and wild and just debauchery.
Or any kind of place with Diddy, unless it's in a business atmosphere. So now what he's doing is he's making the Christians look real bad right about now.
And you've been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If they probably got a little bit more freakier, as time went on, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, where people used to go to, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other stuff. That's just crazy. I was getting calls from females that stated that they had situations that were, I'm trying to put it in a way, there were situations that if law enforcement individuals heard it, Puff had broke the law with them. So he had committed a crime. And in doing so, if those are the females who went and found the lawyers to take their case, he's going to be facing criminal charges because the act in which they explained to me were criminal acts. The drug, the touching, the raping, all that.
Now, as a result of all that is happening, Usher has also stepped forth to reveal an honest and less glamorous aspect of his early career. He disclosed that Combs had exposed him to drugs and wild parties when he was a young and innocent child.
And it was hard. There were a lot of things I seen and a lot of positions that I think I was put in where I had to make very, very tough decisions in my life about who I would be. I was 13 years old, and being 13, having that type of exposure, it was cool to go to Howard Homecoming with Puff. It was great to be able to go to Club USA or the Supper Club, with Puffy in that time, or the Tunnel. But these are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be. Most kids would be excited about it. Most kids are trying to figure out, how to be around, hot girls, pretty girls. I'm around grown women, and I'm seeing them do things and have experiences that I'm not quite ready for. And I think that he was just trying to show me the lifestyle. However, that's not what I was there for. I was there because I wanted a career, man. So we would fight, we would tussle. More than often, I think Puffy would say, man, you got to chill. Like, you're just a little bit too intense. You got to relax. Like, yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week. I mean, I'm 13 years old, like banging on this man as though, I am the manager. I am the spokesperson for Usher. And I'm telling him, look, you're going to put me in the studio, man. You got Biggie Smalls in there. You got Craig Mack in there. You're going to make me a priority, too. I'm not here to party with you. I don't want to go to the clubs. Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs? I think as a kid, I realized, hey, look, that's not my ring. That's not my moment. That's not my bottle. That's not my drink. That's not my celebration. So I'm not here to celebrate. I wanted people to be excited about me the way that they were excited about him. I wanted my own success. So I would stay at the studio.
Look how young he is. This baby.
All of what I could absorb from being an artist, being around other performers like Mary J. Blige, Jodeci, I'll Be Sure at the time, Missy Elliott, Timbaland,
Yes, respect.
all of these people, I would just absorb every bit of what I could get my hands on. I was just pulling everything I possibly could.
And being here.
There was a lesson in all of it. There was something to pull from it all, because I got a chance to see a glimpse of the lifestyle, a glimpse of the idea of what it was to be successful. And part of all of this is really, if you can see it, then you should believe it.
Usher said he felt a lot of pressure to participate in things he wasn't emotionally or psychologically prepared for. He said that although he now regretted some of the choices he made at the time, he was only able to act as best he could at the time. Of course, Reggie Wright Jr. has just come forth to support all of Usher's assertions. And well, he could very much be on Diddy's hit list up next.
As I keep telling y'all that been battling with this homosexuality shit way before all this shit came out. Y'all be, you motherfuckers like always saying, and you too, John, Reggie be lying, Reggie making up shit. But if y'all go and listen to my videos before, y'all see I done spoke on all this bullshit before. Been telling y'all, Puffy Combs is a fucking homosexual. Any man sitting paying a motherfucking meal to come and watch him have sex with his girl is a weirdo. Now, I know y'all be like, well, you don't watch porn? You don't watch porn? No, number one, I don't pay a motherfucking man to come and watch me or let me watch them and a man. I mean, a girl. I ain't gonna pay no man to do that. And generally, if I'm watching porn, it's girl on girl. That's just my taste. But yeah, that's crazy. But I've been telling y'all the nigga is gay.
Hey, everyone. Interrupting your research.
While this commercial is on, I just want to reiterate, I have no issue, and neither does anybody else here, with anybody's sexual preference. That's just what this person is saying and his thoughts and opinions. This is in no way my thoughts or opinions or anybody else here.
he's gay. But when you have to have these females around, you gotta hide that crazy fantasy. I got Gene done told y'all. The going to buy butt plugs. Somebody gonna come out and tell y'all these stories. It's just a matter of time.
Combs was also criticized by Usher for not being the greatest role model. He felt forced to fire Combs to establish his own identity, pursue his career on his own terms, and stop being someone's property.
Because as a result of being around that man, Sean Puffy Combs, I don't sleep to this day. I have a problem sleeping to this day. I got it from him.
What a mercy.
I mean, this is a dude who just never slept. He's probably the first one to get up and the last one to go to sleep. So at the age of 8, 9, I begin to ask myself, like, what am I going to do with my life? Who am I going to be? Am I going to be a teenager who sleeps on my mom's couch looking for, a menial job that, will at least give me enough to just pay for gas to get there and from every day? No, I want to do something that I feel is going to take my mom out of here and hopefully put us in a better situation.
Meanwhile, recent actions by fellow rapper Mace, who confronted Diddy on social media about unpaid publishing rights from their past joint ventures, have also drawn attention to ongoing issues in the music industry. It appears that Mace accused Diddy of still refusing to grant him publication rights for work he did more than 20 years ago. In a tweet, Mace highlighted the difficult situation of young artists who sign unfair contracts with Diddy and become caught up in a never-ending cycle of abuse and freakouts with the rapper.
That's really good. Let me take my shade off. Now, I could say this because it's not something I didn't say to him. Puff, how do I want to say this? Me and Puff was like, I felt like I did more than I got credit for, more than I got paid for.
You felt or did you do that? Because you said felt.
Okay, let's clear that up then.
You saying you feeling that?
No, we're going to keep it with, because I'm trying to be nice. I never got paid what I was worth, and I never got the respect I was worth. So that
Mace, this guy right here that's talking, he did a lot of songs with Puffy back in the 90s, and they built each other's career. And yeah, Puffy never paid Mace supposedly the money that he was dealt. Puff says he did, Mace says he didn't. I don't know. I know that around this time that they were working together, Puffy had all of a sudden had a lot of money and was able to open the business, Bad Boy Enterprises and all that. So I'm kind of leaning towards believing Mace in this one.
the disdain that I got for Puff is more like, you trying to keep me here, nigga. I'm not here. All my peers is up here. All my peers are bosses. When it's time, just like somebody raised somebody up, you know they did work with you, they go from your little man to maybe A&R to something else. He just kept trying to keep me right here, like he didn't want me to grow at anything.
So, does this indicate that 50 will work with each of these artists to bring Diddy's career to a close once and for all? That's all for today. Make sure to drop by with your thoughts in the comments below. For more updates, hit the bell icon.
P.Diddy behind bars in New York after a federal indictment last week. But what led up to these federal charges? A series of civil lawsuits that first sounded the alarm on the shocking allegations against him. We're taking a look at all 11 civil suits filed against P. Diddy and where they stand now that he's been arrested. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. 54-year-old Sean Diddy Combs, a once beloved and celebrated music artist and entrepreneur, now faces federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Diddy was indicted by a grand jury last week and taken into custody at a Manhattan hotel. After that, he was booked in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. He's been denied bail twice since then, a federal judge ruling that's where Diddy will remain as he awaits trial. At court appearances last week, Diddy denied the charges and pleaded not guilty. His legal team has been very outspoken, calling the accusations, quote, the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide. After his arrest, Diddy's attorney Mark Agnifilo released a statement saying in part, quote, we are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Agnifilo went on to say that Diddy will likely testify at his trial to explain his side of the story. But at trial, we can also expect some strong testimony from government witnesses, likely in the way of civil plaintiffs, whose shocking allegations are what led to Diddy's arrest and indictment in the first place. There have been 11 civil suits filed against P.Diddy.
So that's going to be interesting if he testifies at his own trial. That's not a good idea because the prosecution gets to grill you on the stand. That's why people usually don't testify in their own court case, because prosecution can light you up.
Diddy in the last year, and it's only apropos to start with the suit filed by Cassandra Ventura, who you probably know as the singer Cassie. Cassie
I think it's a great idea. House sitters.
Cassie filed her lawsuit on November 16th of last year under the New York Survivor Act. That act meant any sexual assault survivor could file civil suit against their alleged abuser, regardless of the statute of limitations. Several other plaintiffs also filed under the same act. In Cassie's 35-page lawsuit, she lays out the history of her allegedly abusive relationship with Diddy that began when she was just 19 years old. At the time, he was 37. Cassie says Diddy began, quote, almost immediately asserting possession and control over her and inserting himself into all aspects of her career and her personal life. That
So, Anders, I think that he got involved in the trafficking aspect because he was hanging out with all the Hollywood elites. And I think that they saw that he had access to people, access to women, and access to all these things. And basically, they made him his puppet, like they were talking about in the other video that we just watched. He was their puppet. He had to go get them what they wanted and what they wanted to do. And he was into it. So he basically, fell into the part and played it. And now he's being offered up on the chopping block while these other Hollywood elites aren't going to pay for anything.
That includes things like forcing Cassie to use illegal drugs and have sex with prostitutes as Diddy watched or masturbated. Cassie's lawsuit also states that multiple times each year, Mr. Combs would violently beat Miss Ventura, leaving bruises on her body. He would later hide Miss Ventura in hotels for days at a time to let her bruises heal. We saw evidence of this brutal abuse when CNN released a graphic video showing Diddy assault Cassie in a hotel hallway. The release of that video led to Diddy posting this one.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. But sometimes you got to do that.
We saw that video and this fake
I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy. and going to rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Cassie's lawsuit was settled just one day after it was filed, but the civil suits just kept on coming. On November 23rd of last year, 2 more survivors filed suit against Diddy in New York. Let's begin with Liza Gardner. Liza's allegations date back to New York in 1990. She met Diddy and Aaron Hall at an event, and the pair were handsy with Liza and her friend. Liza and her friend then went to an after party where she, quote, was offered more drinks and was coerced into having sex with Combs. The lawsuit goes on to allege, quote, after Combs finished doing his business, Liza Gardner laid in bed, shocked and traumatized. As she was in the process of getting dressed, Hall barged into the room, pinned her down, and forced Liza Gardner to have sex with him. Then, days later, Liza alleges Diddy came to the place where she was staying. The lawsuit says he was, quote, irate and began assaulting and choking Liza Gardner to the point that she passed out. According to Liza's lawsuit, she demands a jury trial, and the case is still open and ongoing. So too is the civil suit brought by Joy Dickerson Neal. That's the other one who filed suit on November 23rd of last year. Her allegations date back to 1991, when she was a psychology student at Syracuse University. Joy knew Diddy because they had mutual friends, and she'd appeared in a few of his music videos. So the pair went out on a date, but Joy says Diddy intentionally drugged her, resulting in her being in a physical state where she could not independently stand or walk. After that, she alleges Diddy raped her and recorded it on video. She found out about this tape a few days later when a friend revealed he'd seen it. The next suit filed against Diddy came from a woman identifying herself only as Jane Doe. Her suit was filed on December 2nd, 2023. While Jane Doe doesn't list her name in the lawsuit, she does list multiple photos of herself and Diddy. Her allegations date back to 2003, when she was just 17 years old and in the 11th grade. Her lawsuit states at this time, Diddy was twice her age and one of the most well-known and influential music artists of all time. She met one of Diddy's friends, Harvey Pierre, who's listed as a co-defendant in her lawsuit, at a club near Detroit. So Harvey Pierre says Diddy would love to meet Jane Doe and even calls him on the phone. After that, they take a private jet to New York. Once there, Jane Doe says the evening became a blur, but she was raped.
So this is going all the way back to the 90s, and yeah, this girl's testimony was something.
By Diddy, Harvey Pierre, and an unidentified other person at Diddy's studio. The next lawsuit brings the accusations against Diddy into 2024, when Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod, filed his civil suit. Lil Rod alleges he was, quote, the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. At times, Lil Rod says Diddy touched his private areas without consent and forced Lil Rod to watch him shower or have naked body massages. He also alleges Diddy was grooming him to engage in gay sex and even forced Lil Rod to have sex with a prostitute. Lil Rod says his allegations are corroborated with hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in some serious illegal activity because Diddy apparently required Lil Rod to record him constantly. We believe it was this allegation, proof of the illegal activity on video or audio recordings, that led to the federal raids on 2 of Diddy's homes. Those search warrants were executed on March 25th, and we've since confirmed the feds collected some electronic evidence then, as well as 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant. That brings us to the next lawsuit, filed on April 4th by Grace Omar K. Diddy's listed as a co-defendant on this suit, along with his son Christian, or King Combs. She alleges that on December 28, 2022, while working as a yacht deckhand, she was sexually assaulted by a heavily intoxicated Christian Combs, who forced her to perform oral sex on him. According to the lawsuit, she believes Diddy is liable for this, as he allegedly facilitated the assault by chartering the yacht. On May 21st, another civil suit was filed by model Crystal McKinney.
Well, my dad
Sorry about the commercials.
He sexually assaulted her at his studio in New York. McKinney alleges Diddy gave her a joint laced with narcotics to smoke, and after that, Combs pressured her to imbibe more alcohol and marijuana by telling her that she was acting too uptight. After that, Diddy allegedly forced her into the bathroom, where he began kissing her without consent. Combs then shoved her head down to his crotch before commanding her to suck it. The lawsuit goes on to state, quote, plaintiff refused, but Combs pushed her head down onto his phallus and forced her to perform oral sex on him. After that, she became physically ill. The allegations we're talking about today against P. Diddy are truly shocking, but the plaintiffs filing them are seeking justice for these alleged assaults. And if you're injured, you can do the same. I'm talking about our sponsor and proud partner of Law and Crime, Morgan & Morgan. They have an army of over... Turn to Morgan & Morgan. Your case could be worth millions. Start a claim in 8 clicks or less at forthepeople.com/YouTube takeover. Just days after McKinney filed this lawsuit, on May 23rd, another lawsuit was filed against Diddy, this time by April Lampros. According to her suit, Lampros met Diddy in 1994 when she was studying at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. The next year, she alleges Diddy pressured her to drink alcohol and later took her to a hotel to rape her. A second assault allegedly happened in a parking garage when Mr. Combs grabbed Ms. Lampros by the waist and forced her down to her knees. He quickly unzipped his pants, exposing his erect penis. He then grabbed her hair, wrapping it around her fist. He then forced his erect penis into her mouth and demanded Ms. Lampros perform oral sex. The lawsuit goes on to describe 2 more instances when Diddy allegedly raped her in 1990.
I'm sorry about any kind of trigger warnings. I hadn't heard these yet, so this is interesting.
1996 and 2000. As recently as 2023, Lampros was at an event when a guest told the man she was dating he'd seen a video of Lampros having sex with Diddy. This man, whose name was redacted from the lawsuit, shared that he saw this tape during the summer of 1997. Lampros was told that Diddy recorded them having sex without her knowledge, and he would go on to show that video to multiple people. That brings us to June 10th of this year, when Derek Lee Cardello Smith filed a personal injury complaint against Diddy, also alleging sexual assault. As a note, Cardello Smith is currently behind bars for criminal sexual conduct and kidnapping convictions. He's set to be released in 2026. Now, according to his suit, in the midst of a sexual encounter in 1997, Diddy told him, quote, drink this one. And I thought it was another glass of Jim Beam. So I took it because I had sat one down in the other room, and then I drank some more. And I stayed sitting there and began getting drowsy and started to pass out. And then Sean Combs said to me, I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another. And then I passed out. Cardello Smith alleges Diddy offered him $2.3 million to make this alleged sexual assault go away, but he says the payout never came. A judge initially ordered Diddy to pay Cardello Smith $100 million, but just one day after Diddy's arrest, a judge ruled Diddy no longer has to pay. That brings us to this month, when former Danity Kane band member Don Richard filed suit against Diddy as well. Diddy helped form and mentor the band on MTV's Making the Band 3, and Richard alleges that's where her abuse began. Not only does Richard say she witnessed Diddy physically assault Cassie, but she claims Diddy threatened her life when she offered to help Cassie, saying things like, you want to die today, and I end people. The lawsuit also states that throughout the productions of Making the Band 3 and 4, Mr. Combs deprived Ms. Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates of basic needs, such as adequate food and sleep. Richard also referenced some of Diddy's parties, like a specific one in November 2009. There were many well-known celebrities at the after party, and copious amounts of illegal drugs were being openly consumed. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs had arranged for dozens of young women and girls, some of whom appeared to be underage, to be transported to the party. That was the last suit filed before Diddy's arrest, but just 1 week after his indictment, another accuser filed suit. That's Thalia Graves, who alleges Diddy and his bodyguard raped her in 2001. According to her lawsuit, Diddy picked her up from her mom's house, and as she drank what had been handed to her, she started to feel lightheaded, dizzy, and physically weak. In retrospect, it is clear that Combs had used a drug to be put into plaintiff's drink, as a few sips of wine had never impacted her this way. Diddy drove Graves to his studio, and when she regained consciousness, she was naked and her hands were tied behind her back with what felt like a plastic grocery bag. Plaintiffs shouted for help. In response, Sherman, that's the bodyguard, lifted her up from the couch and forcefully slammed her face down on what was apparently a pool table. Shortly thereafter, Combs entered the room naked. After that, Graves alleges both men raped her, and after that, threatened her that if she told anyone about it, she could lose custody of her son. That brings the lawsuits filed against Diddy to the double digits, reaching 11 in all. But to dig deeper, we have to bring in law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman. So to start talking about civil lawsuits, now we have Diddy, who has been indicted. He's in New York, he's behind bars, he is awaiting his federal trial. But I'm wondering, would any of these charges or the investigation into Diddy have even happened without these civil lawsuits?
It's a great question with no easy answer in it. And I would say that many people think this started with the lawsuit by Cassie Ventura. It kind of opened the floodgates, first of all, for the other civil suits that eventually happened. But it seemed to be something that the federal government honed in on because all of the investigations seemed to happen right after that case was settled, I believe, overnight. So one wonders if not for this civil litigation, would he be in the federal criminal predicament that he is today?
The major lawsuits that people always go back to are Cassie's and Lil Rod's. So let's start.
So Cassie's lawsuit is what kind of busted the floodgates wide open for this. And I'm going to read the indictment after this, but they say that she's going to testify and she's the main witness to the indictment that we're going to go over.
Start with Cassie because she was the first one, as you said, to kind of open the floodgates there. How important is Cassie going to be in the federal case against Diddy? Would she possibly testify? Anything like that?
So remember, we don't know all the details of this case because, as you may recall in the indictment, they don't even mention specific names of any of the alleged victims. We're all guessing that victim number one is Cassie Ventura. And so we assume that she will be integral in terms of the case against Sean Combs. But again, I hate to say we're guessing because that's all anyone is doing in a sense. But remember, any case against Sean Combs is going to require not just the witnesses. Obviously, a jury can rely on what a witness says, but I think a jury is going to also want corroboration. What other evidence supports what these witnesses say? Is there video? Is there physical evidence? And that's something we know at least one video exists, the one with Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. But remember, that doesn't make out the bulk of the case. And so what other evidence is going to support and corroborate the witnesses in this case? And time will tell regarding that.
That leads into my next question perfectly, because Lil Rod filed suit back in February, and he made note to hundreds of hours of video and audio recordings. That he says he has a lot of these showing Diddy doing some pretty illegal activity. So right there, he's saying, hey, you know what? I have the evidence. Do you think
I've tried hard to ignore you.
Do you think that allegation could have led to the federal raids that were just the next month, when we now that we've seen the indictment know that they did collect some electronic evidence?
Absolutely. I think it's a possibility. I think it's quite frankly a probability that this lawsuit, along with Cassie Ventura's, eventually led to the federal investigation. Again, we haven't seen these videos. We don't know what's on these videos. You know, simply someone doing drugs on a video in and of itself does not make out the crimes of which they're alleging. And Lil Rod, we also know, has some baggage of his own. I think the federal government is going to need and want, and I assume they have, although again, I'm guessing, the corroboration they believe they need to make out a strong case against Sean Combs.
We talked about how in the indictment, it only refers to victim one. So we have all of these allegations, 11 civil suits in all, but only victim one. Could we expect, though, to hear from additional victims or accusers in this case?
yes, it is certainly possible. Also, don't forget, it is possible that there will eventually be an additional indictment. It is not unheard of for the federal government to indict an individual and then right before trial add additional charges against that person. And so I think it's interesting because when you start to hear some of the defense talks about there being one victim and one victim only. And it leaves those of us who are kind of watching from the sidelines wondering, is it really only Cassie Ventura that's going to be speaking out in regards to what happened? Are there going to be more individuals? One would assume that Cassie Ventura was not a witness to all of the alleged criminal activity that they're alleging.
What happens now in terms of these civil suits? Because Diddy is behind bars as of now. We know that he's moving forward in the judicial system with his own criminal charges. But what about these civil cases? There's 11 as of right now. Are they just on pause?
Well, I'm not sure that they're on pause because certainly their attorneys are not going to want to be on pause. Obviously, if he was found guilty of criminal activity, that could potentially help all or at least some of those civil litigants. But I think each of them are potentially moving forward. Remember, they have separate attorneys, separate clients. They're at different stages of the discovery process. And so I think they're going to be moving, but again, I think probably a slower pace than one would have anticipated. Certainly, I don't expect what we saw with regards to Cassie Ventura when the civil suit ended within a day or a week of the filing.
So Diddy was arrested last week, taken into custody. And then this week, we saw an additional lawsuit that was filed by Thalia Graves. She brought forth these allegations against Diddy, and that bumped us up to the number 11. So we're at that number right now. Do you think it's possible that even more civil suits come out?
Anything's possible, Sierra. I mean, anytime there's one lawsuit, two lawsuits, three lawsuits, you're going to start to
I think there's definitely more on the way.
See people come out of the woodwork. And I'm not questioning their credibility, but credibility is always an issue. And we can't forget that because the natural question people ask is, why didn't you come forward originally? Why are you coming forward so late in the game? What is the corroboration? Just like with a criminal case.
So to that, I would say that, you're talking about Diddy, and who has all the money in the world. He was working with like mayors, lawyers, all kinds of people. Yeah, that would be why you wouldn't come forward.
What is the corroboration that supports your claims? Now, keep in mind, civil suits are easier because the requirement in terms of what you must prove is much lower than it is in a criminal case, which can sometimes, I'm not saying with everyone, motivate someone to file a civil suit. You're also potentially looking for monetary damages, which can have an influence. Don't forget, if any of these witnesses are now testifying at the criminal case, that's going to be something the defense attorney is going to question them on as to whether or not they have a bias, skin in the game, if you will, to see Sean Combs convicted so that they can have a payoff later.
After Diddy's arrest, he pleaded not guilty to the federal charges against him. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. That's all for now, but there's sure to be more developments ahead of Diddy's next court appearance on October.
I'm talking. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the indictment now. I'm going to read out the 14-page indictment for you guys, and then we'll probably watch some more videos about what's going on and go from there. So this is going to be the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. This is the sealed 14-page indictment. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. The grand jury charges overview. For decades, I'm going to read this a couple of times and then not continue because I remember from the last one, it just keeps saying all his names over and over. That's why I did my title like I did. For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love, the defendant, abused, threatened, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees' resources and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, PD, and Love, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global, collectively the Combs businesses. Corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. I didn't know he had a television network. At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, PD, and Love. I think we know all the names. I'm going to skip that from now on. The defendant engaged in and persisted and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction, made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs locations. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using an intimidation and violence. Physical abuse by Sean Combs, the defendant, was recurrent and widely known. On numerous occasions from at least on or about 2009 and continuing for years. Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance in Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff to ensure silence. Combs' violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. Sean Combs, the defendant, used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. The employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as Combs intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. The Combs Enterprise. Let me check my oh yeah, Anders, who wrote that stupid article, Family Man. I know, right? Like, this man was by no means a family man. I couldn't agree with you more. The Combs Enterprise. From at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise or the Enterprise. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The Combs Enterprise, including its leaderships, its members, and associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18 of the United States Code, that is, a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consisted of Sean Combs, the defendant, entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprise, Combs Global, and Combs Global. Combs Global. Individuals employed by and associated with the Combs business and others known and unknown. The Combs enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for common purpose of achieving the objectives of the Combs enterprise. The Combs enterprise was engaged in and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. The Combs enterprise operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. At all times relevant to this indictment, the defendant, who was the leader of Combs enterprise, Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknowns participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs enterprise affairs. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as others close associates of Combs. Purposes of the Combs enterprise. The purpose of the Combs enterprise included the following: operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels and a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs, the defendant, as a musician, entrepreneur, and figure of the entertainment industry. Enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leader Combs, a participant whose demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of the Combs enterprise, including the power of its leader Combs through violence. Let me make sure I didn't skip a page. Okay, a musician, entrepreneur, and figure in the entertainment industry. Okay, Anders, I appreciate you being here. Thank you, everybody who's here. If you have to go, please feel free. Thank you for everybody who's watching. And if you come back, or if you're watching this on replay, I do appreciate it. I'm just going to read through this and then we will go back into videos. I wanted to read through it because I did put it on the thumbnail. Enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leaders, Combs, and in particular those who demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of Combs enterprise, including the power of its leader, Combs, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal and emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Fulfilling the personal desires of Combs, particularly those related to Combs' sexual gratification, including through the exploitation of women and the use of commercial sex workers. Enabling Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise to engage in unlawful acts of violence, including sexual violence, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purpose of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics distribution, and other crimes, concealing the commission of such acts. Securing absolute loyalty from members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts of violence, threats, and protecting the Combs enterprise and its members and associates, including Combs, from detection and prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against individuals who witnessed the crimes committed by members and associates of the enterprise. Means and methods of the enterprise. Among the means and methods by which Sean Combs, the defendant, and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise participated in the conduct of and the affairs of the Combs enterprise included the following. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power of prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit. Often under the pretense of a romantic relationships, Combs then used forced threats of force and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced sexual performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines. Internationally, freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-off, I'm sorry, I keep stumbling on my words. It's hard to read this because it's like really small on my computer screen. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking hotel rooms in advance with required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lightings, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims and commercial sex workers and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 babies of baby oil and lubricant. Okay, again, they seized narcotics and freak-off supplies, including more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Like 1,000 bottles. I told this to my husband. I said to my husband, what the hell are you doing with 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant? And he said, you know how like you'll see the videos of like girls getting in like the little kiddie swimming pool and they'll be in like Jello or whatever. He said maybe they were doing some of that like in there, like, you know, since it's like elaborated parties and things, maybe they had it set up where they would be in baby oil doing that. But still, I was like, but still, that's damn a lot. And he was like, it would take a lot to fill up like one of those little pools. So that's a possibility. But I'm like, dang, that's just a bit much. And it says lubricant. Like, I'd like to know specifically how many bottles of lubricant you found. Back to the indictment. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. During the separate from freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demand without risking their financial or job security or without repercussions from him of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during freak-offs to collateral to ensure as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. I'm going to stop right here where they talk about, number one, they're delivering IV fluids. So that tells me that a doctor was in on it, because you have to have a doctor to administer IV fluids. And they're needing IV fluids to recuperate from these parties after days of sexual exertion. That's crazy. Controlling their appearance. It is rumored that Sean always wanted white fingernails, white clothing, white lingerie, because he liked the look of white on black skin. Like, you think about if somebody's holding a member of a fallacy, a phallic object, if you will, and they have, and that phallic object is black and they have white fingernails, that's one of the things that was mentioned that he liked and you had to do. Back to the indictment. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate or threaten others, including victims and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March 2024, during the searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. So that's telling me that the guns could possibly be illegal because they're scratching the serial numbers off. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise enabled Combs to control other victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing or suppressing the victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep the victims compliant. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise at times witnessed Combs' violence towards the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of the Combs enterprise helped conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing the victims from leaving locations such as hotels or Combs residences. The occasions include instances in which a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly observed. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. When employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others threatened Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts of violence included kidnapping and arson. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, and choked and shoved others. He threw both objects and people. This mug is picking up people and throwing them. Like, my lord. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023 following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and others, members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with a false narrative of events in an effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on or at least 2 occasions. Give me a second to get a sip of my coffee. The racketeering conspiracy. From at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs, aka Puff Diddy, P. Diddy, PD, and Love, the defendant, and others known and unknown, being persons employed by and associated with the Combs enterprise, described in paragraphs 6 through 12 of this indictment, an enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18 United States Code Section 2, that is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as the term is defined in Title 18 of the United States Code, consisting of multiple acts involving kidnapping, chargeable under the following provisions of state law, California Penal Code, multiple acts involving arson, chargeable under the following provisions of state law, and it gives the California Penal Code. Multiple acts involving bribery, chargeable under the following provisions of state law, and it gives us the code. out of California. Now, remember, this is out of the Southern District of New York, and they're referencing California penal code. So they've got information from Los Angeles. Back to the indictment, Title D, multiple acts under Title 18 United States Code, tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. Multiple acts indictable under Title 18 is relating to forced labor, multiple acts indictable under Title 18 relating to sex trafficking, multiple acts under Title 18 relating to transportation and inducement of travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal sexual activities, multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, prolozam, 3,4 methyloxymethamphetamine. So he was giving them cocaine, Percocets, Xanax, some type of, I guess, prescription methamphetamine, Bramo 2,5 dimethylloxapline. I don't know what that is. Gamma hydroxyburic acid and ketamine. Ketamine is special K. I don't know what those other ones are. In violation of Title 21 United States Code section, distribution and possession with the intent to distribute and conspiracy to do the same, Title 18 Code, aiding and abetting and willfully causing. It was part of the conspiracy that Sean Combs, the defendant, agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise. Notice of special sentencing factor. From at least in or about 2009 up to and including or on or about 2018 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, as part of his agreement to conduct and participate in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, Sean Combs, the defendant, agreed to, in affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain and advertise, maintain, prioritize, and solicit by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion, as described in Title 18 United States Code, and any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in commercial sex act in violation of Title 18 United States Code. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. Victim 1. Now, we think that victim 1 is Cassie, especially with it dating back to 2009. That means their witness can state from 2009 and forward, and that gives us about the time frame of Cassie. So everybody thinks that this is Cassie who is helping them with this information, and I believe so too. Back to this. The grand jury further charges from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs, the defendant, in affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion as described in Title 18 United States Code, blah, blah, blah. And any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act and attempted, aided, and abetting and willfully caused the same to wit. Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained a person, victim 1, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the victim 1 to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard for the fact that victim 1 was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. The grand jury further charges that from an in or about 2009 and including in or about 2024 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendant knowingly transported an individual in interstate and foreign commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution and attempted, aided, and abetted and willfully caused the same. To wit, Combs transported, aided, and abetted and willfully caused the transportation of female victims and commercial sex workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in prostitution. Title 18 forfeiture allegations. As a result Oh yeah, this is why they're not even paying attention to what he said about the bond hearing, like what he's offering. Check this out. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 any and all interest in the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18 United States Code, whatever, and any and all interest in securities of, claims against, and property or contractual rights of any kind affording source of influence over the enterprise named and described herein, which the defendant established, operated, controlled, and conducted and participated in the conduct of violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1962, and any and all property constituting and derived from proceeds obtained directly and indirectly. Said offense included but not limited to sum of money, United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. This is very important. This is saying basically that Bad Boy Enterprises was a criminal enterprise, okay? So everything they did in that enterprise was illegal. Therefore, everything that they acquired from money from running that enterprise now belongs to the government, because what you did, how you earned that money was illegal. So they basically are saying that they get to take everything, sums of money. It says including but not limited to sum of money, United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. Anything they can trace to the commission from Bad Boy Enterprises, they're going to try to take. That's why when he offered a $50 million bond and the house and all of the things, they're like, no, we're good. You're going to stay in jail, because they're going to take it anyway. Back to the indictment. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 2 of this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18, 1594, any and all property, real and personal, involved in, used, or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of said offense, and any and all property traceable to such property, any and all property, real and personal, constituting or derived from the proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of said offense, including but not limited to sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of property involved in said offense and proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. So that's just reiterating what I just said. They're going to take everything from him. They'll leave him a house and a few clothes, but like extra cars, extra money, extra houses, they're going to get all of that, because they can prove that when he was running Bad Boy Enterprises, it was illegal. Therefore, all the money and all the things that he made from running that enterprise now belongs to the government, because he was racketeering, he was committing fraud, he was engaged in illegal activity. Back to the indictment. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 3 of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, shall forfeit to the United States any and all property, real and personal, constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of said offense, and any and all property, real or personal, that was used or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of said offense. So they're saying anything that you use to commit said offense, or anything you got from committing these said offenses, is ours. And you got to think he used the cars in the music videos. Therefore, he's using the cars to help commit and facilitate the offense of running Bad Boy Enterprises, and all the money you got, all the sex, anything they can prove that was used to benefit or help facilitate Bad Boy Enterprises, and anything he got from that, they're going to take. And all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. Substitute assets provision. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act or commission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 18 to seek forfeiture of any other property of the defendant up to the value of the forfeitable property. And it gives us the codes and who signed it. So basically, that is going to go back again to the plane that he's trying to sell. He can't sell that plane because that plane is part of the property that the court is going to be seizing. They're about to take him, they're taking everything from him. They want it all. So let's get back to the videos. Now that we know the indictment, I saw this. So this is going to be since he's been put in jail. This is again from Law and Crime Network. They're saying that he's not eating because he is afraid that his food has been poisoned. And with all the people that he knows, I mean, you take into account, you know, the information that Jeffrey Epstein knew and then what happened to him. I think P.Diddy's basically afraid of the same thing. He's afraid they're poisoning his food and etc. Because you got to think there's mayors involved in this, judges, all kinds of things. So let's go ahead and listen to this. This again is another video from Law and Crime Network. Please give them a like and subscribe. This is fair use. I will link them in my description box when I'm done with this live.
From a life of parties and open bars to life now behind bars. In the past week, P. Diddy has seen some major lifestyle changes. And now we're getting reports that Diddy isn't eating while in jail. And it could be because he thinks someone's trying to poison his food. Plus, he's been transferred to a protected unit that already houses convicted fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried. So what's it like for a high-profile defendant like Diddy?
Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't know much about him, but I know that he got a lot of money by doing something like fraud with the computers or some kind of computer company. I'm not sure. If anybody knows, please tell us in the description more about that. But he got charged. He was given a bunch of money to the Democratic Party, from what I understand.
Diddy to be locked up in one of the most rundown and violent jails in the U.S. For that, we'll turn to criminal defense attorney and law and crime legal analyst Imran Ansari, who repped other high-profile defendants like Harvey Weinstein and 50 Cent. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. All right, so big news out of New York, where P. Diddy has been held for more than a week in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. This comes after Diddy's arrest last Monday, following his indictment by a federal grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The 14-page indictment lays out some pretty strong claims against Diddy, alleging he's guilty of sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
That's the one I just
indictment
got
goes
done
on to
reading.
allege Diddy showed a pattern of abuse, mostly against women, that included verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, including the use of
With HoneyBook, you can make sure your marketing business is as polished and professional
of extensive grooming tactics. There's also mention of something referred to as freak-offs, which are described as elaborate and produced sex performances that
I
Combs
just finished
arranged,
reading this
directed,
indictment. That's
masturbated
what they're
during, and
referring to.
often electronically recorded. During these so-called freak-offs, Diddy would often drug his victims, sometimes without their knowledge, to keep them obedient and compliant. Then, Diddy allegedly required these victims to have sex with prostitutes, and oftentimes he recorded that too. Again, these recordings were made without the victim's knowledge or consent. These freak-off sessions were facilitated by Diddy's associates, that the indictment refers to as part of the Combs enterprise. These associates would procure the sex workers, book the hotel rooms where these freak-offs would take place, and stock the rooms with necessities like baby oil and lube. Now is a good time to note that when federal authorities executed search warrants at two of Diddy's properties, they collected 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil, which puts into perspective the severity and scope of these freak-offs. Also, during these raids, federal authorities collected digital evidence of this alleged illegal activity. And they kind of had a heads up that Diddy was recording some of this. Multiple civil lawsuits filed against Diddy starting in November of last year alleged he sexually assaulted.
So I wanted to reiterate, because I talked about it for a second ago when I was reading the indictment. I told my husband about the 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant that was in the motel rooms. And I was like, what on earth? Like, I understand that these freak-offs happen for several days at a time, okay? But what on earth would cause you to need that many bottles of baby oil and lubricant? And my husband brought up the fact that, you know how, like, you'll see like girls in a little kiddie pool and they'll be like wrestling in mud or jello or whatever. He said maybe they're taking the baby oil and having them like wrestle in baby oil. And I was like, yeah, okay, but if that's going on, then I mean, you still wouldn't need 1,000 bottles. And he was like, well, it takes a lot to fill up one of those little baby things if you think about, you know, putting the water in the pool for the kids. But I still like, even though he was facilitating things going on like that and girls just like randomly dancing or whatever, even if you were using it to like fill up a baby pool with oil or something and have two girls wrestle around in the nude, that still seems like a lot to me, in my opinion. And the lube too, like I would like to know specifically how many bottles of baby oil and specifically how many bottles of lube. Because if there's like the same amount of lube, that tells me that yeah, it was more than just that. We know that it lasted for several days and they were so sexually exerted that they had to have the doctor come in and give them IV fluids from just reading the indictment that I did. So, I mean, but I still don't think you need that much to be running around poking everything you see.
Assaulted the plaintiffs and often recorded it. Okay, I know you're multitasking when you're watching our videos, but if you're out running errands, listen up. This is for you. I have to tell you about the free app Upside that gets you cash. And she alleges he was physically, verbally, and sexually abusive toward her during that time. Her lawsuit was settled just one day after it was filed, but that was just the start of the civil suits against Diddy. Since 2023, 11 civil suits have listed P.Diddy as the defendant. And now one federal indictment lists him as the defendant too. After his arrest, Diddy pleaded not guilty to the charges and was twice denied bail. His legal team offered a pretty sizable bail package too, saying that Diddy would put up $50 million for his release. This would have been co-signed by Diddy, his sister, his mom, his 3 adult sons, and the mothers of 2 of his children. The defense also suggested that Diddy would have major restrictions on travel, a GPS monitor, and even limitations on female visitors. All this was presented last week, but U.S. District Judge Andrew L. Carter said no, arguing this bail package was insufficient to guarantee the safety of the community or to maintain the integrity of the case.
And we just remember reading from the indictment I just read, they're going to seize all of that because they can prove that everything he bought and everything he owns, he got through running the Bad Boy Enterprise. And the Bad Boy Enterprise was involved in racketeering and all of these illegal activities. So therefore, since they can prove that all of his money that he got, or most of it, was done illegally and everything he bought with that money was purchased illegally, it now belongs to them. So they don't give a shit if he's offering all this shit because they're going to take it anyway.
So that meant Diddy was remanded to jail, specifically the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the jail, often referred to as just MDC, houses 1,218 inmates right now, of both genders. But according to Diddy's legal team, the jail is notoriously dangerous and run down. Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, argues there are major issues with the jail, citing violence, poor conditions, overcrowding, and staffing issues.
Oh, poor Diddy. Used to living in the lap of luxury. Now he's got to go to jail like all us common folk out here. Oh, poor baby.
He also cited some startling statistics. 2 inmates have been killed at MDC since this June, and at least 4 inmates have died by suicide over the past 3 years. On top of that, 6 staff members have been charged with criminal activity over the past 5 years. Diddy's team wants him transferred to a different jail in New Jersey, but Judge Carter says it's up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to make that decision. So for now, MDC is where Diddy calls home. It's usually where defendants are housed after their arrest and as they're awaiting trial in either Manhattan or Brooklyn. But the issues at MDC are so severe that some judges even refuse to send defendants there at all. But even with its less than desirable conditions, MDC is no stranger to high-profile inmates. Previously housing R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell,
Was that his mama?
and Sam Bankman-Fried, who's actually there right now. Bankman-Fried was convicted of fraud and money laundering last November after the collapse of his cryptocurrency exchange, FTX. And as it happens, Bankman-Fried and Diddy are being housed in the same part of MDC, a unit for inmates that requires special protection. That's people like Diddy or Bankman-Fried who are high-profile names, but it also cares for inmates who may need protection as they assist with ongoing investigations in open cases. Since Diddy's move to this area of MDC, there are reports that he's spoken briefly to his children over the phone. Diddy has 7 children, ranging in age from 33 to 23 months old. According to reports, Diddy is concerned about how his kids are handling his arrest and detainment. And meanwhile, they're allegedly in a state of crisis after only experiencing Diddy as a loving, devoted father. Meanwhile, there are other reports that Diddy has stopped eating. This could be because he isn't enjoying the food, but it also could be because he's paranoid that someone is out to get him and may slip poison into his food. But is that likely or even possible? And what are the perils of MDC?
So with the people that he knew, judges, lawyers, police, mayors, yeah, I would be afraid of being poisoned too. We saw what happened to Epstein because of,
especially for a high-profile defendant like Diddy. Here's where we have to bring in criminal defense attorney Imran Ansari, who represented other celebs like 50 Cent or Harvey Weinstein. He says Diddy's arrest wasn't surprising.
I think we all saw the writing on the wall with Diddy in terms of the civil case leading to a federal investigation. We saw the raids on his residence. And I think that the indictment that we see now wasn't so much a surprise. And it was something that we expected arrest was going to come down the line.
Now he has been arrested. He's been denied bail, so he is behind bars in Brooklyn. And there's been a lot of articles about this. His attorneys are saying that the conditions there at MDC are horrific, horrendous. They're not appropriate to stay in. What is your experience there? Is it really as horrendous as they're saying?
I've had many clients who were housed in MDC Brooklyn, and I can tell you the reports that the facility is something that is less than desirable is 100% accurate. There's been a lot of reports of it being below standard in terms of prison standards. And of course, a prison isn't meant to be a comfortable place, but of course, they have to provide the basic human rights to their inmates. And MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with overcrowding, with violence, with poor food, with poor cleanliness. And P.Diddy, who is in a protective custody unit, is still experiencing all the bad things that MDC Brooklyn has to offer, and it doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of comfort or things that an inmate would be looking for.
So obviously, anyone who's behind bars is hoping to have a nice place to sleep, food.
Look, because of Donald Trump, more than
as you were saying, but is this place really dangerous? I know that they listed a couple of statistics that there had been several suicides, even potentially murders. So is it possible that he could be in danger?
So he's in protective custody now in the SHU unit, but his lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, pointed out recent events in that prison, and MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with a lot of violent acts. It's been really criticized in terms of the conditions that prison inmates have to live with. And certainly Diddy would be facing potential dangers because a prison, by virtue of it being a prison, is not necessarily a good place to be. It's not a safe place to be, but particularly this facility is known to have a lot of problems in the last few years.
What would it look like for Diddy in this protective care unit, I guess? He's separated from general population, but what is his day-to-day like?
So Diddy's life in the SHU, in that specialized housing unit where he's been placed for his own safety, is going to be something that's rather routine and mundane. He's not going to be necessarily even enjoying some of the things that general population, aka Gen Pop, enjoys, because he's being in a special segregated unit for his own safety, which means he's going to be under more constant observation by guards. His comings and goings in and out of his cell for recreational time and for meal time are going to be more scrutinized. So although the SHU unit is technically for the prison inmate's safety, and of course Diddy being a high profile inmate requires that, it also means more restrictions for that inmate.
Following Diddy's arrest, we reported news that he was placed on suicide watch. It's unclear whether he was actually suicidal or if this was just a safety precaution. But we do know a mental health professional visits his cell at least several times a day. Is that possible for Diddy? He may not have these suicidal ideations, but it's just for his safety?
It's pretty routine, especially for a high-profile inmate, to be placed.
But not several times a day. It's not routine for a psychiatrist to visit his cell several times a day. Usually they just come in and talk to you once or twice. Now that's just for, like, you know, general population or normal people. The jail psychiatrist actually will come once a week unless you put an order in on the commissary monitor. But for him, I mean, okay, he's high profile. Maybe he needs them like once a day, but like several times a day, that tells me that he's battling with some suicidal ideations.
Decision. So for now, MDC is where Diddy calls home. It's usually where defendants are housed after their arrest, and
inmates, and MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with overcrowding, with a lot of problems in the last few years.
what would it look like for Diddy in this protective care unit, I guess? He's separated from general at least several times a day. Is that possible for Diddy? He may not have these suicidal ideations, but it's just for his safety?
It's pretty routine, especially for a high-profile inmate, to be placed on suicide watch, especially when they're going from a dramatic change from their life outside prison to a life inside prison, something that they may not be used to. It's typical and routine for an inmate like that to be placed on suicide watch for their own safety, and the prison kind of wants to make sure that, you know, when all eyes are on them, that nothing happens on their watch. So we do know that Diddy's lawyers did say that he's ready and willing to fight the charges and ready to fight the allegations against him, and he's of sound mind. So it doesn't surprise me that he's placed on suicide watch by corrections simply for his own safety and in order for the prison to sort of CYA.
So we're talking about this case simply because Diddy is a huge celebrity, a high-profile defendant who's now placed behind bars, a far cry from the mansions that we're used to seeing him in. What are some of the issues with having a high-profile defendant? Does it make things more dangerous, more difficult? What do you think?
Well, being high profile in prison, based on knowledge from some of my own clients, is somewhat worrying for them, especially when they are coming from an environment which was a polar opposite from what they are experiencing in prison. So it's a shock. It's frightening. And of course, they have to deal with the real reality now that they are behind bars and they're facing criminal charges. It also presents a added sort of, you know, hurdle for us as attorneys who are defending a client like that, because we are obviously cognizant of the big change in their life that they're dealing with psychologically, and then also obviously the legal aspects of things, but also the court of public opinion. You are constantly looking at how the public is receiving your client or a defendant when they are high profile, and you are sort of tending to their needs because now they are dealing with such a dramatic change in their life. They went from mansion to prison, and sometimes that's a hurdle along with the legal fight all its own.
And then there's the question of Diddy's communication. Who's he making contact with from the inside? So Diddy has pleaded not guilty to these charges. So of course we're expecting him to bring a strong defense with his attorneys, his team. Obviously they're going to be preparing. But does it add a layer of challenge, the fact that Diddy is behind bars? What does it look like for attorneys hoping to meet with him? Would they have their own rooms? Would they talk over those phone things we see in movies? What would it really look like?
So when you have a client who is behind bars, you are meeting with them on legal visits, and you are talking to them on a secured line, which is an attorney or legal call where it's not being recorded and it's afforded that privilege, that attorney-client privilege, that privacy there. But it does present hurdles when having a client behind bars, because you're sort of really reliant on the prison schedule. B, the prison calls. You can't call your client, they're calling you. So even if you have something that you need to talk to your client about urgently, you got to wait until you get that prison call from prison, or you're making that visit yourself to jail to have a legal visit. So it's always easier to represent someone who has been out on bail, because they could come to your office or you could visit them, or even if they're on house arrest, they're typically allowed to come to your law office. So it does present that added hurdle when you're representing someone who is remanded or in jail. But of course, we have to do what we have to do as defense attorneys, and we make it work.
We talked about the side of his defense, obviously speaking with his legal team, but what about his family? We have seen some reports that Diddy has had brief phone calls with his children. What would that look like? Is it a phone call privilege system that he would get more calls as time goes on if he has good behavior, that kind of thing?
So inmates are afforded time to talk to their family, of course, family visits, but they are restricted in terms of certain hours where they can make that call, certain amount of minutes they have in terms of making a call, which is a non-legal call, and also visitation hours and things like that. And of course, it's a massive shock to the family. It's not only a shock to...
Picture this. You're sitting at home alone.
to the defendant or the inmate, but the family is now dealing with the roots of reality that someone who that they were able to communicate with, whether it be Diddy's children calling him or seeing him. Now there's all these restrictions around it, and it's happening in a very traumatic time. So it also presents a real change of circumstances, a real stressor for a defendant or inmate's family when they see someone that they love. No matter what they're accused of, no matter what the allegations are, now they have to go through the prison system in order to see them or even speak to them.
You spoke about these phone calls between Diddy and his attorneys. Obviously, those ones aren't going to be recorded. But in regards to the phone calls with his family, is this something that's going to be recorded and something prosecutors or even the defense are going to keep an eye on?
A phone call between an inmate and a non-attorney, like a family member or a friend, those are subject to being recorded. So a defense attorney, I'm sure P.Diddy's attorneys, Mark Agnifilo and his team, have told him, if you're going to have any phone conversations with family, friends, or non-attorneys, you got to be careful with what you say. It's going to be recorded, and it could be used against you, whatever you say in those recordings. As a prosecutor or former prosecutor, when I was a prosecutor, I used jail phone calls in my case in chief. I used it as evidence against defendants because we would receive those recordings, and sometimes people are not careful about what they say to people on the phone. As a defense attorney, I always tell my clients, do not talk on the phone openly to friends and family, because it's being recorded. You never want to say something that could come back and used against you in a court of law. So yes, those phone calls are not subject to attorney-client privilege. They're fair game for prosecutors and law enforcement. So you got to be careful to what you say on a non-privileged line like that.
But there's still the question of whether Diddy's eating while in jail. Going back to Diddy's day-to-day life behind bars, there have been some reports that he's not eating. This could be maybe because the food isn't up to his standards, it's not what he likes, but also there are some potential reports that he's fearing someone may poison his food. What do you make of all that?
So having been to MDC Brooklyn to visit my clients and talking to them about their experience inside and what they're eating and whatnot, I could tell you that they're not getting any Michelin starred or gourmet food.
Again, I think it's a very understandable fear to have with as much information he has, as much dirt that he has on people. I think that somebody very possibly could try to take him out. Me and the Astro from space are trying to figure out who the second witness is. Yeah, I know. I think the baby's name is Love. Um, she was married when Puff got her pregnant and her husband divorced her. Oh, Lord, I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. I think the baby's name is Love. Um, but I'm not sure if it would be her or somebody else. He paid workers to come out. So the possibilities are endless. I know the one is Cassie. If you would like to see an update of her in the beginning of this live, sort of towards the beginning, I played a video showing her and her family now and how she's happily doing a lot better. But yeah, I have no idea. I'll look into and try to find out who the other witness is.
Food in prison. So you got to think on a practical standpoint, a realistic standpoint. Diddy's probably used to really good food and the best food that money could buy. Of course, he had the resources for that. So it could be that the food is just so reprehensible to him and he's not, he doesn't have a taste for it, that he's not eating because of that. Or it could be a genuine fear that he has that someone may be out to get him. And then he doesn't want to take that risk. Of course, this is all speculation, Sarah, but that could be a chance. Of course, there's the notorious incident in near history with Jeffrey Epstein, where there are conspiracy theories that rather than suicide, he was actually killed in prison. I don't know what's going on in Diddy's head. I don't know, if it's the food that's being bad.
My husband last night was watching something and it was on Rumble by Roseanne Barr. It was an interview she did, and I'm trying to pull it for us, but about Epstein. They state that the guards had nitrous oxide in their system, which would be an odorless gas that could have been put in the system the night that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly hung himself. So I'm trying to pull that so we can talk about that and the Epstein issues too soon.
If he's not eating it, or there's some other fears going on there. But generally, the food in prison is not palatable per se. And that could be the reason why, if that's true.
Diddy's team has made it super clear that they do not want their client there at MDC. Is it possible that he's transferred to a different facility ahead of trial?
I would imagine that P. Diddy's defense team, Mark Agnifilo, and his team would be doing everything and anything to try to get Diddy out, right? They would probably be appealing, and I believe they are, the remand of Diddy and trying to get him out in a less restrictive and non-custodial detention, right? That could be house arrest where he's being monitored, or maybe to a different facility altogether. And I can speak that from clients that we've had at my firm and that I've represented, we've had inmates and clients go from one facility that may be less than desirable to another facility where they may be getting better care. Let's say if they have a medical problem, or just generally we're making a pitch to get them out of jail, that one prison to another. Of course, that's all in the discretion of prison officials, and it's not a given. But I would imagine that Diddy's attorneys are doing everything, to get him out of jail, right, and to have this remand reconsidered, and also perhaps have him transferred to a different facility, which is less harsh than MDC Brooklyn. But again, you got to really show a real good cause for prison officials to use their discretion to take an inmate out of one prison to another, because you got to remember, Sarah, that Diddy is supposed to be treated the same way as any other inmate in that facility would.
I don't think they're going to transfer him because he knows too many people of power. They want him right where he's at. They want eyes on him at all times. They want him to answer for these crimes. They're not going to move him to New Jersey where he wants to go because they're afraid somebody's going to get him out of the country, in my opinion.
with no special treatment. I think it's interesting, this Diddy case, to show how a civil lawsuit really brought on a deeper investigation into Diddy, the allegations against him, and ultimately led to this indictment. And it is a serious indictment. It's not to be taken lightly. He is in jail. And it's always interesting to see someone who was at the top sort of having this, meteoric fall to this level. Of course, his attorneys are going to go out there swinging in his defense, and prosecutors, of course, are going to be standing by their case. But it's fascinating to see someone who was so embraced by the public for his music, for his persona, now finding himself in the harsh facility like MDC Brooklyn. And it's also a little surprising to me that he actually got remanded to MDC Brooklyn, because they were actually giving a decent bail package to prosecutors, to the court, for, house arrest and putting up collateral and whatnot. So we'll see if that's going to be reversed or looked at with a change of circumstances.
They don't want that because they're already going to take it. If anybody knows what lady could have a bigger profile than Diddy if she was a young woman in 2018 and knows Young Miami personally, who could be the second witness, please let us know. I mean, I'm wondering if it could possibly be Nicki Minaj. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Please let us know. If you're watching the replay, leave it in the comments. Thanks.
Is what have you. But it's going to be an interesting case to see. And whenever you have a celebrity like this, the public are going to be watching every move, both in court, by the prosecutor, and by the defense.
After Diddy's arrest, he pleaded not guilty to the federal charges against him. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, "Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal." To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. Diddy is expected back in court on October 9th. We'll bring you the updates then, and of course, whatever develops before that next hearing. For Law and Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Okay, I have another one that says, looking at, taking a look back at 10 disturbing Diddy interviews because of what we know now. It's 13 minutes long, so we'll look at that, and then I'll see if I have time for us to go over anything else. Today, I do have to go do things with my family for my birthday. But I was...
Scent can't sanitize. Lysol can.
Sorry about that commercial. Glad I muted it because we have another one. The witness is from Northern California. Okay, I'll read the other part.
It doesn't come out into the forefront the way this one has come. We know sometimes those relationships.
So again, we're looking at this. Oh, thank you, the Astro from space. I appreciate that. Again, we're looking at interviews that are disturbing because of what we know now, per the indictment and Cassie and all that.
Get ugly, and sometimes it doesn't come out into the forefront the way this one has come out.
Welcome to Ms.Mojo. And today, we're rewinding several interviews that retroactively left us asking, what did Diddy say?
You're going to hear about my party. They're going to be shutting them down. They're going to probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time.
Representing The Wendy Williams Show. After Hot 97 fired Wendy Williams in 1998, she accused Sean P. Diddy Combs of using his money and influence to, quote, try to crush her in New York. Almost 2 decades after their beef started, Williams welcomed Diddy onto her talk show, seemingly on good terms.
I know I pissed a lot of people off, including you. Mm-hmm. But this is a full circle moment, everybody.
Yes.
Get into adult conversation.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah.
While Diddy presents himself as someone who's matured into a role model, several moments are now traced with irony. Williams inquires about Diddy's lifestyle and the people he surrounds himself with, asking if they, quote, violate him.
She meant financially, but her phrasing proved prognostic.
You threw a house party and I got the footage. Okay. Look at this. Now, who has this many people at their house? Puff and or Sean, Diddy, Doody, what do I call you?
Diddy later discusses setting a positive example for African American males.
So look at all those people that were just at that they were showing at this house party. Like, all these people are knowing, willing participants in the narcotics and all of the sexual things that were happening, all of the things. So let's look at that again.
Got the footage. Okay. Look at
All
this.
these
Now, who has this many people at their house? Puff.
Narcotics, you can see it kind of behind them. Narcotics, sexual performances, things like that. That is crazy.
And or Sean, Diddy, Doody, what do I call you?
Diddy later discusses setting a positive example for African American males and his charter school, Capital Prep. Diddy's partnership with the school unsurprisingly ended in November 2023 as sexual assault accusations surfaced.
Our children are expected not just to learn to read, write, and compute, but to use that which they've learned to improve their community.
Defending Justin Bieber, Access Hollywood. The allegations against Diddy have made people reassess his relationships with several young proteges, including Justin Bieber. Diddy's 48 hours with Bieber in particular isn't as cool as it seemed in 2009.
Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Although Diddy is in trouble with the law now, the positions were reversed in 2014 when Bieber got arrested for a DUI. Diddy defended Bieber in an Access Hollywood interview. He acknowledged that the pop star had made mistakes, but Diddy vowed to help him stay, quote, on the right track.
I don't think that he should be judged like he's not a human being or he's not a teenager that has to hit some stumbling blocks. You know what I'm saying? It's just not fair to make him a perfect human being.
Fast forward almost a decade, Bieber's arrest feels innocent compared to Combs's. Bieber wasn't as quick to rush to Diddy's defense. A source claims that Bieber doesn't want to focus on Diddy's scandal, instead dedicating his time to being, quote, a great dad and husband.
Does he want to have, any affiliation with any of this? No. But I think that even for him, where he is in his life right now, I think it is a smart thing for him to just not even get involved in anything.
Keep J-Lo's name out your mouth. Jimmy Kimmel Live. In late 2023, shortly before Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit against Diddy, the rapper sat down with Jimmy Kimmel. The host asked about a rumor circulating amid the release of Jada Pinkett Smith's memoir, Worthy. According to somebody claiming to be Diddy's former security guard, Will and Jada wanted to have a threesome with Jennifer Lopez. Diddy was dating Lopez at the time, allegedly threatening to beat up Will Smith. Hearing Kimmel relay this tale, Diddy initially responded with a stone-cold stare. He quickly changed his tune, laughing it off and denying such gossip.
I don't know what you're talking about. Jimmy, I thought we was friends. What is this?
Whether or not this story is completely fabricated, it's far from the most shocking thing Diddy's been accused of. It isn't the most bonkers story involving Will and Jada either.
No,
it's all about love, though. That's not true.
You really heard that? Nah.
What? Yeah.
Hands to yourself, Diddy. The Keenan Ivory weigh-in show. In the past, if you had P. Diddy and Mike Tyson in the same room, chances are we'd be more intimidated by the heavyweight champion. Now we'd be more concerned for Tyson's well-being. In 1998, the two appeared on Keenan Ivory Wayans' short-lived talk show. If you're curious about the pairing, the boxer wanted to start a music company.
People's been helping me out. Wyclif's been helping me out. Devontae Swing's been helping me out. And hopefully Puffy helped me out,
While much of the interview feels casual, a blink and you'll miss it dose of awkwardness occurs as Diddy's hand gets a little too close to Tyson. Wearing a grin, Tyson removes Diddy's hand before scooching away.
But it was like, I just felt I was embarrassed for like weeks. It truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh, yes, he's glittering.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
Perhaps we're reading too much into this gesture, but to say that...
Well, I mean, I have to question, did Mike Tyson know how he was and what was going on? He was like, yeah, I don't want no part of that.
Diddy has been accused of invading personal space would be an understatement. Watching this makes us almost as uncomfortable as Tyson.
What are we doing, man? Let's talk about this guy.
Yeah, let's talk about Puff.
73 Questions with Sean Diddy Combs. Vogue. Vogue's 73 Question series allows viewers to connect with celebrities on a more personal level. Admittedly, a lot of these interviews are presented through a rose-tinted lens. Nowhere is that more apparent than in Diddy's interview.
Love, how do you describe yourself?
I'm vivacious, eccentric.
Notice all the white. Remember what I was saying about white? How he likes the colors white and black.
And I'm a Scorpio.
In 2017, the video presents Diddy in a down-to-earth light. On the heels of his 2024 arrest, though, some of Diddy's responses feel like setups for punchlines that late-night hosts would have a field day with.
Now, you've gone on the record saying that your white party is up there with the top 3 that you've ever thrown for people. What are the other 2?
I would say when I got my star on Hollywood, I had a party. And this year at Burning Man at an undisclosed location.
To name a few, Diddy describes himself as, quote, eccentric, says that there are, quote, no misconceptions about him, and claims, quote, compassion is his best personal trait. Diddy also brings up love several times, even asking the interviewer to refer to him by that name. Oh, and his dream collaboration would be with Michael Jackson.
Why?
I mean, it's Michael Jackson, man. Who wouldn't?
The Princes and Puffy, The Graham Norton Show. Many famous names have quote-unquote partied with Diddy over the years. Not every invitee showed up, however. In 2011, Graham Norton asked about a rumor that Diddy wanted Princes William and Harry to attend one of his parties. Diddy assured Norton that they were no longer on the list.
Not anymore. I mean, before,
Yeah, don't ruin our royal wedding for us.
Trust me, they're off the list.
We know that one of the princes was with Epstein and hanging out with him. I wonder if it's the same ones that they're referring to here.
This was seemingly because William was about to marry Catherine Middleton, but Diddy's clumsy word choice turned this clip into certified cringe. Diddy claimed that he wanted to party with the princes when they were, quote, young bucks growing up.
I can just go over for some tea or something and we could kick it.
Since the princes had something of a reputation for getting into trouble, Diddy thought they'd, quote, want to hang out. Given what allegedly went down at numerous Puffy parties, Diddy might have felt more at home with Prince Andrew.
Going to Jeffries was not about partying. Absolutely not.
Any interviews with Cassie. Throughout their relationship, Diddy and Cassie Ventura accompanied each other to various red carpet events. Even when flying solo, Diddy and Cassie would often speak adoringly of each other.
The birthday party was incredible. She's such a special person.
On the surface, the two looked like the epitome of a glamorous couple. That illusion was shattered when Cassie sued Combs for a, quote, cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking that allegedly lasted almost a decade.
If I'm on her team as her attorney, I'm making it clear that that's what happened here, that the relationship started out good, but gradually it got worse and worse to the point that...
This lawyer, her lawyer got paid. Good Lord, I can't even imagine how much money that man got paid when Puffy settled.
She was caught in this vicious cycle. She was caught under his thumb.
Some of Cassie's claims were supported by video evidence. After watching this footage, it's impossible to look back on any of their interviews together the same way again. The most disheartening example may have been at the 2018 Met Gala, where Liza Koshy asked Cassie if there was anything she'd like to confess.
I keep everything right here. Or right here.
There you go! That's how you do it! Cassie wouldn't keep quiet much longer. Chris Brown, Rihanna, and Diddy too, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Few could have predicted that P. Diddy and Ellen DeGeneres would both be problematic figures by 2024. Diddy dropped by DeGeneres' show multiple times. Puffy parties were a popular topic. Ellen even invited him to one of her parties.
I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late. Because, once you get there, the party really starts.
In an especially unsettling interview from 2009, DeGeneres asked Diddy about Rihanna and Chris Brown, the latter of whom had been accused of domestic violence. Diddy reportedly lent Brown his Miami mansion, supposedly attempting to help reconcile his relationship with Rihanna.
If I could be there as a friend during hard times, then I'm going to be there as a friend.
Right.
But I don't know the exact particulars. I didn't get into it. I'm not going to do this or do that. It's a dark time for them, and I was there more as a support.
Diddy didn't deny these claims, saying that he could lend his house to whoever he wanted. While Diddy condemned violence, he argued that stones shouldn't be thrown without all the facts. Unlike Diddy, Brown notably pleaded guilty to his assault charges.
From there, I said, you know what, I'm gonna just take everything and it's come. My consequences for my actions have to be dealt with.
Lock the Doors, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Between Danny Masterson and P. Diddy, celebs should be careful what they tell Conan O'Brien. It may come back to haunt them years later. In Diddy's case, Conan spoke with the rapper in 2002.
Now, you're legendary for the parties that you throw.
Mhm.
You throw a great party.
I'm a legend, baby, for a whole bunch of things.
O'Brien wanted to learn the key to throwing a puffy party. Diddy provided a detailed list that included beautiful ladies, beautiful men, booze, water, and, quote, locks on the doors. Conan brought the interview to a brief halt, questioning if Diddy's parties were safe.
No, I wasn't saying. No, it was a new
Sean,
party.
you're in my house now, you see.
Please,
You just tumbled into my house.
Please.
It's okay. It's going to be fine.
Okay, cool. Please let me finish.
Okay.
Diddy admitted that the locks were a little, quote, kinky, although there might be another word for it. Maybe Diddy intended this as a joke, but considering everything that's been reported about his parties as of late, this answer comes off as brutally honest.
Everybody gets a little bit more comfortable and loose. Builds up a nice little sweat.
That just sounds disgusting. What are you talking?
Depends on the way you look at it.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
That last one was
You have
really
the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your...
Let me see if I can pull up that 50 Cent one that I found earlier. Oh, well, look at this one. 50 Cent trolls Diddy for arrest after home raids, and then I'll have to go. It's only 2 minutes.
You will never procrastinate again once you understand this. Psychologists have recently discovered that the real reason why you
Sometimes I procrastinate because I'm just lazy.
50 Cent is...
All right.
50 Cent is taking shots at Sean Diddy Combs on Instagram. 50 mocking his longtime rival after Diddy's arrest Monday night.
We brought him to New York about 2 weeks ago because we knew this day was going to come.
Where was 50 on Monday? Also in New York, making an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show.
What are you looking for? And do you know what you're looking for?
Yeah, well, just real friendship.
Friendship, but not with Diddy.
You ain't a friend of mine. You ain't no kin of mine.
50 posting a sweet picture of him and Drew on Instagram, but the caption tells a different story.
I have a lot of fun.
Here I am keeping good company with the Drew Barrymore show, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house.
I'm not panicking. They are.
50 referring to the over 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil found when the feds raided Diddy's home in March. One of many details revealed in his now unsealed indictment, which laid out the charges for his arrest.
I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
While Curtis gave his 2 cents on the situation,
People love tragedy. You know, more than they love good news, no matter how you look at it.
Diddy's attorney, who maintains the rapper's innocence, tended to a media frenzy Tuesday morning.
I expect we're going to have an arraignment at some point later today.
This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that.
So that was from Entertainment Tonight. I will link all of the videos and YouTube channels that I played in my live today. I will link them in the description box below. If you're watching this on a replay, please check the description box below. I want to thank all of you for being here, and those of you that commented, those of you watching, I hope that you liked what you saw. Maybe you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you're watching this on the replay, I hope that you'll leave a comment or subscribe or do any of those things that, they usually ask you to do. I hope today is the best day you've ever had in your whole entire life. And I thank you to the new people who commented that I met. I appreciate it. And I will be back in the morning, probably around 9 or 9:30, and we will discuss something. I don't know what. I'm trying not to do Madeline Soto so much anymore because I've just covered it so much. Oh, about that though, I will be putting those videos and interviews in a playlist in order. So I am working on that. I also have one more interview to put out with Stephen Stern's ex-girlfriend, but it's so low I have to like manually, like I have to stop it every 30 seconds and put in like write what she says in the video so you can hear it. So I am working on that. Again, I appreciate you all for being here. I hope you have the best day you've ever had in your whole entire life. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks and bye.